Nduoko has decided her feet need to be up. So she's feet up this week, enjoying herself. City, how are you?
Even I am well.
Even you're fine. Even if anybody asks you, you will be fine.
Yes, I will maintain.
From now until 12 o'clock, you're fine. Had a good weekend?
I had a very good weekend.
One of those that you just chill.
You know, I actually tend to chill most weekends. Huh? It's important to rejuvenate. And you do that by minimizing your activities.
Yep.
The sort of things you do in the course of the week, those are things you eliminate or you reduce significantly. So that come Monday, you are adequately charged. You don't want to start a Monday fatigued. That week can be really long.
Yeah, indeed. So it's important to take the weekend to just relax, unwind. People find it hard, eh?
They do. I think, again, it's what I like referring to as the tyranny of habit. You just want to do what you normally do, and you assume it will have no effect. The body, the mind, the spirit has to take a break. It has to, as they say, chill. It's important. Yes.
It's important for mind and soul.
It's important for you to take a break. Yeah. Yes. And if the break means going for a walk, so be it.
So be it.
Yes.
Whatever it needs, give it.
Yes, but it shouldn't be the daily routine of what you do on a daily basis. If you continue doing that, even to a lesser degree, you're not resting.
A lot happened towards the end of the week and over the weekend. So the Kiambaa by-election, by the time we were leaving, they hadn't declared the winner.
No, they hadn't.
More than 12 hours after closing of the polling centers. But then they declared the winner.
They did.
With just less than 400 votes, UDA carried the day.
Yes, they did. The positive thing there is that, one, it was accepted. The eventual loser accepted, as did the loser in the election for the MCA in Muguga. Those were good things. Those were very, very good things. But the questions, well, they always arise, don't they? Yes. The nuances that are political, the nuances that one can read from such a situation, those ones always arise. And then, of course, there's the news, the headline-grabbing issues of party this, party the other, leader this, leader the other. Those, let's say in the absence of that, then you would be hard-pressed to actually claim that there was a serious political contest. So,
But, you know, well, like you said, it's a good thing that the candidates immediately conceded.
yes.
And they said, sawa. There's a blot in the election, the fact that it took so long. It had to be, tallying had to be suspended for so long. But then the result, when it's such a cliffhanger, so close, even in Mugoga in the by-election for MCA.
27 votes.
Imagine. That is a very close margin.
But then what, I am really not surprised. I'm not surprised because Jubilee was competing with itself. Yes.
It was Jubilee A versus Jubilee B.
Yes, or C or D, whatever you want to call it. But Jubilee was competing with Jubilee. Because the people who were competing, the only significance was that they had all been in one party, now they were in different parties. So the question that begs to be asked is it the individuals who lost, or is it that people are generally tired with one of the two, of the A, and they prefer the B? Okay? And if so, knowing the configuration of our political parties, is it the leaders of those particular factions that they are tired of, or are they tired of the faction itself? Now, these are the questions that perhaps one needs to ask. Moving forward, of course.
We'll have that conversation because we can see the fallout already within Jubilee. We've just heard even in the news, Kanini Kega saying, you know, there are some leaders who are a stumbling block in this particular party. And those people need to exit the party immediately.
The target seems to be clear. One Rafael Tuju and one Murade. They seem to be the targets. But in a political context, I think those who are baying for their blood, I think they should bay at the moon instead. Because in a political contest, unless you're going to tell me that you have a godlike capacity to foretell the future and to fully understand, or you are going to say that the entire electoral process in this one place rested on the shoulders of these two individuals and only these two. No. It was a political contest. Somebody was going to win.
Remember, it started with Morales saying, "We gave you guys money. We have lost account."
One of the things that Morales seems to be famous for is he has this capacity of putting his foot in his mouth. Yes. He says things that one should not even be allowed to think.
Why?
For this simple reason. The moment you start declaring you gave money and the money wasn't utilized properly, what really have you just said? It isn't that people do not know that money is spent in election. People do know. But it is telling us his attitude. It's like, I bought you, why didn't you stay bought? Okay? It is rude.
Maybe he's basically just calling for accountability.
No.
We did not reach the areas that we should have reached. We had to spend money to campaign. Spending money to campaign means get the trucks, get the posters, get communication out there, get people on the ground, get people on foot, knocking on doors, get all those organized. And clearly, that wasn't done.
Clearly, the issue wasn't the money being spent. In a political contest, there is a bigger issue of who you have on your side, not the money. Everybody spends money in such an election. So you spending money is not the issue. Everyone is spending money. Who do you have on your side? What sort of individual is this? Because at the end of the day, money being spent on potential voters, that one was long established. People just take the money. Where they're going to vote is a completely different matter altogether. So he cannot now come and start talking about issuing money as though it was a given and it was a foregone conclusion that once the money has been given. That's what I'm telling you. It points to his attitude. And that attitude, if that is the attitude, I can understand why his faction lost.
Okay, let's quickly take a look at COVID-19 in numbers and what's happening around the world. So what we know so far is that globally, some 18,000 new cases have been found in the last couple of hours, and leading on those is Mexico with 4,000 new cases, 91 new deaths, bringing their total death toll to total deaths in Mexico is 236,000. That, if you compare to the USA, which has 624,000 total deaths, or Brazil, 542,000 deaths, or India, 414,000 deaths. Those are some of the leading countries when it comes to the death toll from COVID-19. Serious, big numbers. When you say that you've lost more than, you're approaching now 1 million people as a country.
Those are very many people.
Those are many.
But there's a debate that's, if you're talking of debates, there's another debate that is raging in the UK. Their Prime Minister, one Boris Johnson, has gotten to the point where he's now telling his people, folks, given where we are, by the way, numbers are still rising. It's not as though they're going down. But you will no longer need to keep social distancing. You will no longer need to wear masks. And political leaders in the opposition are saying, this is absolutely reckless. This is the sort of leadership we don't need. But it begs again the question, what is the thinking behind this? Is this political posturing? Is it popularity seeking? Did he get advice from people who are experts in this field and who told him that contrary to what we see right across the globe where people open up and then have to shut again, what is it that he knows and understands that will make the situation in the UK different? Because if that is what he says, then what we're going to see is not just a propulsion of all these COVID variants that we keep hearing about, but we're going to see a rapid shooting up, not increase here, shooting up of cases in the UK. Now, that, my friend, will have dire consequences.
I think it's what do they call it? A mixed bag of what?
The There's a phrase for it, but forgive me. It's too early in the morning. My brain has refused to cough it up. It's Monday.
So in that mixed bag, there are several issues. Number one, you've just been restricting people.
Yes.
To live their lives. And we're in the middle of summer. And this is a time when people want to get out and to live their life. And you'd already told them, let's just stay indoors, break this particular chain, and then we could come out again. Now, if you don't let them come out, you'll have issues. Then you said, as we stay indoors, we shall make sure that we ramp up our vaccination drive. 68% of UK adults have been vaccinated fully. Okay? So now the argument is, now, do you want to continue holding people in? Tell them, all right, you come out, but he's urging caution.
He is urging caution, but you see, the fact, even if it was 80% vaccinated, a vaccine is not a cure. Okay? And the fact that you've been vaccinated doesn't mean that you cannot be infected again. There are all these things that still arise. Caution, yes. But with COVID, it's not just caution that should be advised. It should be extreme caution.
But also maybe it's a good thing for them to test their system as well. So if a majority of our population, close to 2/3, more than 2/3 have been vaccinated, and we've stayed indoors, and we expect, the prediction is that currently they get 50,000 cases a day, that will rise to about 200,000 cases a day. Now, the thing is, with vaccination, are we going to see more people seeking hospitalization? And I guess that's where now the balance comes in. Let's see.
It's a good balance. When you put it that way, it is clear that let's make guinea pigs out of our population and see how this thing goes. It is not a bad idea. It is not a bad idea. But against the backdrop of other countries who have also vaccinated their people and who are still ensuring that they keep strict control, well, let's see how it unfolds, shall we?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to give you a quote of what he said in a video posted yesterday afternoon on Twitter, the Prime Minister said this is the right moment to move to the final stage of England's roadmap. He says, if we don't do it now, we've got to ask ourselves, when will we ever do it? And he says the virus could take advantage of the cold weather in autumn and winter, but we've got to do it cautiously. We've got to remember that this virus is sadly still out there. Cases are rising. We can see the extreme contagiousness of the Delta variant. Well, that's a situation they find themselves in. 18 minutes after 6, a very good morning to you. Are you online? SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Let's hear from you. Say good morning and we'll be saying good morning to you again shortly. If you would like to access business news, this is financial news, financial market, business news, technology, real estate, and even get some podcasts on business, you can access that through the Standard Media website. And this is standardmedia.co.ke/business. That's standardmedia.co.ke/business. Jump on there anytime that you're looking for information that helps you understand business news. Good morning, 18 minutes after 6.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice 24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi hii umbo yako iko na pembe.
hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
Okay, so you think it's been cold? Yes, it has been cold in Nairobi. It's been 12 degrees, but it's going to rise to 23. Currently, it's at 13 degrees. Now, let's look around the country. Some of those places that are known to be very cold. Kakamega has been very cold. It's at 17 degrees right now. It's going to rise to 27. Some good and clear day. Mombasa is going to rise to 28 degrees later today. Currently at 22 and with light rains. Malindi, light rains at 24, but going to rise to 28. Eldoret, clear at 12 degrees. It's going to be 22 degrees later today. Kisumu, currently at 18. It's very clear, but it's going to rise to 29. Nyeri, 13. Mostly cloudy day at 20. Nakuru, partly cloudy day at 24, but currently it's at 14. Around the world, Johannesburg in South Africa, 3 degrees. 3. 1, 2, 3. It'll be warm, very warm today at 16. Dar es Salaam is partly cloudy currently at 21. It's going to rise to 30. And Lagos, Nigeria, 24 currently. Light rains at 29 throughout the day. Cloudy day in Kinshasa at 31 degrees. And in Beijing, China, light rains at 26 degrees and it'll hit 28. Paris in France, it's clear right now at 18 degrees. It's going to hit 29. In the UK, London is clear currently at 20 and it will rise to 29. New York, partly cloudy today, rising to 28. Good morning.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Okay, wherever you are tuned in, 22 minutes after 6, a very good morning to you. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Who's online? Ochieng Collins, hello SpiceFM, good morning to you all. Kisumu City is tuned in. Good morning. Bedi Asley of Macha is well tuned. Good morning from Juja Town, that is Kulecho. Tourist Sonko Kalunges, good morning from Kisumu City, getting you loud and clear. Well, very good morning to you. Kevin Kipsang, good morning there, listening from Nanyuki. Phil F. Collins, morning guys, it's a new week, new possibilities, tuned in from Embakasi Pipeline. And Jose Mainan Dohio is in Malindi, now part loud and clear. Abut Waka Niko in at the Sisi to go inside. Morning my favorite people, Jacqueline Amoai says that. City, favorite person, Jacqueline Amoai, say hello.
Hello.
Yes. Rogers Lai is also tuned in. Dorcas Kimotho, good morning. Malindi Tuko tuned in. Hadi Tamati, very good morning, Dorcas. Walker's Calvin Ongondo, radio is silent in Mombasa this morning. Allah? Is that so? In 87.9? All right, we'll check that out. Regan Nyandiga, prodigal son is back. Brethren, open for more Thamos. Okay. Open for me, Thamos. Regan wants Thamos opened.
Mm-hmm. We shall open the Thamos.
We shall open the Thamos. Mm-hmm. David Wasubukia, Kahiga Tukondani. David Kiarie Wasubukia. That's what he says. Stackers Haron is in Migori, tuned in. Charity Maina of Nakuru Milimani Estate, tuned in. Collins Kimtai Kipsat, hi to Erican City.
Hi.
Good morning. Eldoret is tuned in. All right. Pia Odiado Samia Busia County Kandani Vincent Ogutu and Wanjohi Jmo says it's a new day, a new week. We wish our Olympic team all the best. Olympics begin on, is it Thursday or Friday? Friday, right?
Yes, but you know COVID is also going to claim center stage with the athletes and the competitors because already some athletes have ruled their participation out because they have tested positive for COVID.
Wallala.
And that number is set to increase. Yes, there are some who are already in quarantine. The others who just said they're not going to compete. Yes, but this was likely to happen.
Yeah, it was going to happen. It's very sad. I hope that none of our big stars in the Kenya camp pulls out because of COVID. You
know, there's something about the UK, something that you said, that is now being mirrored with the Tokyo Olympics. Mm-hmm. And I think that the organizers did well to continue the Olympics. You see, it is one thing to be safe. It is one thing to try and limit the explosion of the infections, but it's another to simply hide and not determine whether the safety nets you've taken are actually effective or not. Yes. So this balance, I think the Tokyo Olympics brings it out completely into the open. Let's see how it works out.
You've got to stress test it.
Yes, you have to.
All right. Today's proverb.
You overcome the rain, but what about the dew?
You overcome the rain, but what about the dew?
Yes, the rain you overcame, but what about the dew?
Trying to get it. What are they saying?
One is overhead, one is underfoot.
So you had an umbrella, you put on a raincoat. Did you wear gumboots? Niapo, that's the point.
Yes.
Up on your key.
Puddles you can avoid because you can see them. Dew is still water.
It's still water. And it's still right there as you walk. Okay, I get it. Let's take a look at the headlines. And we'd like you to check the headlines along with us as we do this. Are you on Telcom? Well, if you're on Telcom, we'd like you to access the standard e-paper. Just dial star 550 star 1 hash for the standard newspaper for 20 shillings daily, star 550 star 2 hash for the Nairobi and a 20 bob daily, and star 550 star 3 hash for daily magazine pullouts at 5 bob daily. All this deducted from your mobile airtime on a daily basis. So, in the papers, what are you looking at?
Well. What I'm actually looking at is something very interesting.
Yeah.
Remember, we were talking about this minimum taxation in this country, and we had this very long chat with one of the managers at Kenya Revenue Authority last week.
Yes.
Now, this issue of minimum tax, it's something that apparently is becoming a worldwide phenomenon. Because the U.S. Treasury Secretary is a lady by the name of Janet Yellen. Now, she was also talking on the same issue. Now, the background to this was some of the bigger corporations and the taxes that, it was being alleged some of their CEOs or the big shots don't pay, and they themselves as organizations don't pay. So she has been pushing for a plan and a scheme to ensure that everybody pays a minimum tax. Okay? And it's something that is not just being pushed within her country, but she is pushing it worldwide. Yes. So that many other institutions, many other countries within the ambit of that conglomeration that they have, that they seek to do this. Because apparently, big organizations, rich owners, somehow across the Western world, not many of them pay taxes as they should. Meaning, it's not that they break any law. No. But the laws as they are allow
them to.
Yes. And they have the money to get the best tax consultants who will be able to find those loopholes and apply them.
You'll know where to take the tax.
Yes. Now, this minimum tax is supposed to at least help cover that a little bit, meaning it doesn't really matter how virtuoso you are. It doesn't matter how acrobatic you are with your taxation. You will still have to pay.
Hey, let's see how they do it. That's an interesting one. In the country, you saw on Friday, the news broke that the lady Caroline Kangogo, police officer, had been found in her mother's parents' compound, and she had allegedly shot herself. Now, questions emerged throughout the weekend on how was this suicide committed. There's a story now on the page 7 of The Nation which is saying many questions are unanswered as the investigation commences on how she allegedly killed herself. Number one, the report says As soon as police started saying that they're looking for her, they dispatched armed police officers to her parents' compound. Because there was this fear that, this woman is so rogue, she could even come and kill her parents or harm her parents. So there were police officers at her father's compound. Now, how she came and evaded the police officers who've been there for 10 days, how she got into this bathroom and shot herself with a firearm that does not have a silencer, but nobody heard the gunshot until the mother went to the bathroom and discovered her body there later, is a question. Question number one. Question number two, how she was, there are those who trained with her in Kiganjo, and they said Kangogo was left-handed.
Is that not interesting?
But she was found holding a gun with her right hand.
Okay.
And her left hand was in this, she was wearing a hoodie. Her left hand is in the pocket of the hoodie. Her legs, as she sat, are crossed. And she's sitting very comfortably, like somebody who just scratched her head and then placed her hand down and she died. But she killed herself. No blood splatterings on the wall. Her shoes look muddy, but there is no footprint even into the bathroom. So all these questions are being asked. What exactly happened? There was a report when George Natembeya, the Rift Valley Regional Commissioner, first released the information. He said that it's suspected that she had come in earlier, around 5:30 a.m., and met her parents before she went to the bathroom and shot herself. So question number one, how did she come, meet her parents, and the police who were there did not see this? Question number two, the parents have said, no, we have not met her. We did not meet her at all. So was she killed elsewhere, brought there by somebody who killed her? And then there was this allegation that she had left a suicide note. One part of the suicide note says, a note to her parents, I'd like to be cremated. Another one, she says, dress me in a wedding gown. All these questions emerge on what exactly happened.
There's a question also that I have found particularly interesting. How is it that in every murder scene, she seemed to have left clues?
Yeah.
This is a police officer.
All these clues. All these clues, and now she comes in and all these messages are trying to claim that, the person in Juja, I killed him because he was trying to swindle me of money. And then there was the other issue of my very good friend, Ogweno, the police officer who died, Mr. Ogweno who died in Nakuru. I loved you. I killed you so that we can be together. And sending a message to his wife and parents, I'm sorry I did this, but I had to. It is so callous that you wonder what's going to happen, really. Are we ever going to unearth what really, really is happening in the police service?
There's an unfortunate reality about many such deaths in our country. They often have very little to do with the stories you're hearing. They more have to do with a business deal gone bad. Yeah. Even if you take it out of the arena of the security forces and you take it to the political arena, usually it's not political differences. No, it's money.
The pesa too.
Yes. Somewhere something didn't quite go as had been agreed upon, as had been understood, and that is what ends up in people getting killed.
Sad. It's 26 minutes to 7. Let's take this break, take a look at traffic, and then we continue. Good morning. This is Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room.
(24/7) around the world, non-stop. This is Spice FM.
Do your callers frequently ask you what stories made the news headlines? Introducing the Call Bulletin, courtesy of Skiza. You can now keep your callers informed and up to date with the latest news updates from KTN News, courtesy of Skiza. Dial *811 *795# to subscribe today. Set the tone with Skiza. The COVID-19 pandemic has reminded us that knowing how to spot fake news can be the difference between life and death. The spread of fake news has national implications too. Is your governor really delivering on his campaign promises? Or does the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission have a watertight case against him? It all boils down to the news you consume. That's why SpiceFM and its partners have created the Fighting Fakes Media Literacy campaign to help Kenyans become more discerning news consumers. We'll show you how to take care before you share. Tune in to the Situation Room from 6 a.m.
Okay, so let's start with the usual suspects. Thika Road coming towards town. It's busy, especially after the Utalii area coming all the way towards town, towards Pangani. And this is meeting with the Kiambu Road intersection. So there it gets very, very, very busy coming towards town. But then after that, going to Forest Road, it's clear. Going into Moranga Road, it's clear. Westlands, this area around Safari Park, coming towards the CBD, it's not so bad. But getting out of Westlands towards James Gishuru Road Junction, it's also getting a bit busy. I think because of course you understand there's a construction that's going on there. Then let's look at Mombasa Road. So all the way from Uhuru Highway between University Roundabout and the Museum Hill Interchange, it's busy getting into the CBD, and also Mombasa Road itself from Bunyala Roundabout heading towards Haile Selassie Avenue. It's busy both ways because, of course, the construction is also going on there. But also Mombasa Road at the Southern Bypass Junction near City Cabanas, it's also looking a bit busy. In Mlolongo, it's busy, as you can imagine. It's quite hectic in Mlolongo, and this is all the way from Sabaki coming towards Mlolongo, and then it eases up a little bit. Keep it right here. We'll tell you more as it happens, as it unfolds. Anything that you think we should know about, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, let us know about it. Good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. SpiceFM.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
Looking at the headlines,
done right.
22 minutes to 7. CT Muga and Eric Latif with you in the Situation Room today.
You know, one of the discussions that seems to have taken center stage right across the globe again is the issues surrounding global warming, environmental changes. Right now, it's Canada that is at the center of the discussion about the heat waves that they're experiencing there. But it isn't centered. It's centered in Canada as we speak, but it is spreading. Now, with heat waves come forest fires. Now, those we saw in Australia, and we saw how difficult they were to contain, and we saw the problems that came about as a result of it. But what is equally interesting with this issue of global change is flooding. This we witness in Western Germany, where the death toll keeps increasing. When I last heard, it was beyond 120. Now, you're talking about a developed country that takes measures, forecasts and plans. But this clearly caught them off guard completely. People did not know what to do. The floods cut out towns, broke roads. Essentially, it has destroyed lives. But of interest, something that is affecting us with global change but isn't being noticed is drought. Because right now in this country and other parts of the world, people are experiencing and expecting some of the worst famines in their history. In our country, we are talking about more than 10 counties in northern Kenya that have been affected by prolonged dry spells. And with prolonged dry spells comes what? Hunger. Yes. Now, this is something that is imminent, and it is actually directly facing them. Forget the normal problems that people have in these parts of the country. But with this, we discuss it as it's going to be a humanitarian problem. But before long, it'll reach disastrous proportions, and we are going to be looking for help beyond that which we normally talk about.
At every given time in this country, there's at least 1 million or 2 million people
who are facing
hunger and starvation throughout the year. Now, The issue of prolonged drought in these particular counties is one that's known. And I keep saying we have very many organizations and agencies that are tasked with looking at such. By the time it's being reported that people are sleeping hungry, are going hungry, those people should not be going hungry. Those people should be getting the support that they need.
You know, remember we've had this debate with regards to food security, and asked, okay, we also experience bumper harvests, we also experience excess production of goods. Now, we've heard of even milk being poured out, right? We've heard of grain going bad because it's been, stored badly, but it's in abundance.
Yeah.
Now, the question that, purely as a layman, the question that is in my mind, there are ways in which you can actually store this food to ensure that it is utilized. Maybe not in a form that it is originally in, but so that it can be used later.
Yep.
Now, why is it that we have to be telling ourselves this story year in, year out? Because with every year, there'll be areas of the country that have a bumper harvest. There'll be areas that are why is this why is it
bumper harvest is a problem?
Yes.
Because people have produced crops, they have a bumper harvest, and they have nowhere to take the crop.
Yes.
So it goes bad.
It does.
It's a problem for the farmer.
It's a huge problem for the
farmer. And then
on
the other side of the country, there are people who have nothing.
Zero.
And they don't have food.
And, I mean, the question has to be asked. Is this thing a lot more complicated than I understand? Is it not the same government? Can the government not intervene? Look, you know how farmers across the world, again, today I'm really going global, benefit from some of these things. Their governments step in. The government, in developed countries, governments even step in to stabilize prices by paying farmers not to produce certain things. Forget the dumping into the sea when there's overproduction. No. You know, in my mind, that is sinful. How do you throw away food when there are people who need it?
Yep.
And all you need to do is take it. And taking it to them will not affect your global prices.
Yep.
Or whatever price you're talking about. What is it? Now forget the global thing.
Back to our country.
In this country, we have, every year we have bumper harvest. Every year we have this story of people in other parts, 10 counties, sometimes 12, sometimes even more, where people do not even know where the next meal is coming from. But the worst thing is that then you find number of children, malnutrition.
Yeah.
Number of children dying because of this. And you're thinking, but this is not necessary.
It's absolutely not necessary. And if you just think about, so a good thing has been happening in the last couple of years, let's say 2 decades, in terms of infrastructure development. What infrastructure development does is it opens up.
Yes, it does.
So it makes it easier for you to transport food from the farm to the market.
Yes.
It also makes it easier for you to transport food from small market to far-flung markets.
Yes.
It's easy.
It is.
Now we have that in place. But at the same time, we should have been thinking how then to stabilize and balance. How do you make sure that, as we're talking about those counties that are hungry, what is also happening is that they are pastoralists.
Yes.
Their livestock is affected, has no food, has no water.
And they'll be dying.
The livestock will be dying, all right? That is a part of the country that produces the meat that is consumed by the rest of the country, mostly.
Let me just mention the areas, the counties that have been affected, okay? Samburu, Marsabit, Turkana, Isiolo, and parts of Baringo. And you know the worst thing, that families now trek tens of miles in search of food, in search of water with their livestock.
Yeah.
Okay? And some are even taking to the infrastructure you speak of. What they're now doing, because there's more traffic, they've sought to sitting by the roadside to beg passerbys to see if they can help. Now, I would have assumed that those who are in charge of planning and plotting for food security, that this is something that they should be telling us about in terms of this is the plan we have and this is what we're doing about it to ensure that we alleviate this particular problem.
And don't get to that point where people have already gone for days without a meal. That's when you kick in the help.
No.
This should have been predicted a long time ago. You should have made sure that there's a way for transporting the food to them. There's a way for transporting food to these markets. Because you see, the other thing that has happened is you don't necessarily have to give people relief food in terms of bags of food.
No.
Make sure the food gets to those areas and then give them people financial capacity to go and purchase. You're helping the whole economy of the area.
You do. You actually give the economy a shot in the arm.
A shot in the arm, and that's what is required. The traders in that area have money, then the people have money to go and buy the food. You're helping that market system stay intact. But here we are. Once again, we are saying the same thing that we've said. And as we're looking towards 2022, that is not even a conversation. None of them, even those who are really leading the hustler conversation or those who are jumping into the bandwagon, none of them is talking about food security.
None of them are talking about the reality of food security and what needs to be done, and hopefully what they would do.
Yep. For me, that will be the conversation. The agenda for 2022 should be two things, in my opinion: food security, healthcare. Sort those two, and we can have another conversation again. It's 6:45. Let's take another quick break, and then we look at more headlines. Good morning.
102.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawokov?
I can't say it very well. No, you need to Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
Right, so
94
the Standard has a special report today on pages 4 and 5. Poor planning, the reason why universal health coverage collapsed after consuming 4 billion shillings. So the story written by Mercy Kahenda is looking at areas, for example, in Nyeri County. There were 4 pilot counties, right?
Yes.
There was Kisumu County, Machakos County, Nyeri, and Isiolo. Those were the pilot counties. So what happened in those areas? They rolled out UHC. They got people to understand what UHC is doing. For example, this one talks about Lydia Wangeshi, busy taking care of her ailing husband at her Majengo village home in Nyeri. Apart from her bedridden husband, 2 of their children are epileptic and they need close supervision. And Wangeshi's own health is also not good as she has high blood pressure. She's 68 years old. She worked hard to hide her frustration and her broad smile when the Standard visited her home. However, sadness is written all over her face. She says, doctors prescribed drugs for us, but we cannot afford them. I rely on casual jobs such as weeding people's farms and washing clothes in homes. I cannot afford the drugs. These are some of the things that UHC was supposed to help, right? Better access to health facilities and healthcare at an affordable rate. The hits and misses. Kenya's average household size is 3.9 people. Kenya's recommended CGHE per capita to promote UHC is $86 per capita. Now, what happened is we saw this program being rolled out in those 4 counties. People started accessing it through, the card that they were receiving, going to hospital, and you then just receive the free treatment and you just go back home because it's a pilot project. And the whole idea of it was after we start rolling it out, we shall revamp NHIF, so that more and more people contribute towards NHIF. So NHIF then is able to cater for healthcare, at least for a huge chunk of your health budget in many hospitals. After the 1 year rollout phase, we just don't know what's happening. There's talk of reviving NHIF. Movement towards reviving NHIF has been taking place. But the linkage, especially to the people, between NHIF and you accessing healthcare and making sure that the health facilities are well equipped and well resourced in terms of even human resource, we're not seeing much movement on that front. So UHC is not very clear whether it's a hit or is a miss.
It's a miss.
It's a miss.
It's a miss. Why I'm saying it's a miss, the idea of UHC is an excellent one. But UHC in this particular country cannot function without the support of the NHIF system. So the question that arises here is, even as you are talking of UHC and introducing the concept, my thinking is that something that people are accustomed to and already know, like NHIF, is what should have been strengthened first. So that when you introduce the concept of UHC, it is a lot easier to plug in to an existing system and people can actually see it working. But saying you're going to introduce UHC, and then after introducing UHC, you will revamp the NHIF system and then you'll plug it in. Why didn't you strengthen the NHIF system first? Because you knew very well that you are still going to have to plug in this UH program into it.
Yeah.
Why not strengthen it and ensure that it covers the bases that are required?
Yeah.
All right? Look, one of the things that Kenyans really love doing, and they do well, we know how to caucus together and form SACCOs and form chamas. That we do very, very well. So already you have a platform from which you can reach people right across the country. It doesn't matter which part of the country they're in. Now, with such a platform, is it really that difficult? And NHIF is countrywide.
Yep.
It has offices everywhere. Is it really that difficult to penetrate these groupings so that this idea of NHIF could be such that you could say, look, out of the number of people we have in this particular county, we have 70% registration, 60% registration.
And contributing.
Yes. What that automatically means is when you talk of UHC, you'll be plugging in 60% of the people.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I think it needs to happen very much in tandem with equipping the health facilities.
Yes.
You see what that pilot exposed, which was not written in any form of report, but it's what we're being told by those who are running the pilot project in the 4 counties, is you have health facilities at the very basic level that had never been utilized. A health facility is a structure. It has no power. It has no connection to water. It does not have toilets. It has nothing.
My friend, it has a tree growing in the
middle of the structure.
Yes.
So if those were being worked on at the same time as you're telling people UHC, contribute towards UHC, and then you contribute to UHC, you can go to the local health facility and get health care and go back home. Because you see, the local health facility will be cheap.
It will be.
So it's possible for NHIF to pay even 100% for you there. People will see the benefit. Like you keep saying, if I cannot relate the benefit of what you're telling me, I pay 6,000 shillings to NHIF, and I will go to a health facility. The nearest health facility is a private one. It will tell me NHIF is only paying 40%. You need to cough out 60%.
Yes.
Then I'm not really seeing
the benefits that accrue from having this particular card. Yes.
Yeah.
You know, in the planning, I do not for a second doubt that there are people within our system who thought what I'm saying and took it to an even greater conclusion than I'm taking it. I'm speaking as a layman. Because none of these systems work independent of... They don't work on their own. They are codependent on the other systems. You see, the more members you have, the more money you have. The issue of health facilities, the issue of devolution, and yet the money is still controlled by the Ministry of Health. It's doled out like groundnuts as and when the ministry sees fit. the mismanagement of funds when it actually gets to the ground at the county level. Look, it is not that the UHC system is a bad system. In other parts of the world, it has worked. But it didn't work as a one-off. It had even in the developed countries, there were many hiccups, there were many attempts, and in many countries, even now, they're still trying to fine-tune it. It's something you have to understand that you're going to continue working at it.
But you have to start and not stop.
Yes.
And especially making sure that information that needs to go to the beneficiaries keeps going to the beneficiaries.
It has to, and they have to see the benefits.
Yeah.
And it is not difficult to see the benefits.
Some people think they saw the benefit. So there's another part of this story, part of this special report that talks about the allure of free. Okay? So the way it was initially sold is that in those 4 pilot counties, they were not using the NHIF card. They came up with a separate card for UHC.
They did.
Okay? Now, this separate card for UHC pays for everything. You just go with your UHC card to a health facility, present it, get treatment, get medicine, go home.
And did people get free medicine?
Yes. They got free medicine, they got treatment, they went home. Now, you see, that is a different card from NHIF. And now you start telling them NHIF, they wonder, but you have a UHC card. Story is being told here of 2 people. One is Tom Opio, who registered for UHC and he got his card. And his mother, Mary Owiro, had NHIF card and she preferred the NHIF card. Why? Because with NHIF, I can go to a private facility as well and use it. With your UHC card, you can only go to public health facilities.
And it's probably designated, that one.
Yes. Now, a specialist, a health specialist called Dr. Peter Okoth is being quoted here saying, some patients think that the UHC is free treatment. Even their transport costs should be catered for. See the message that went down there? With this card, you go to hospital, you walk free, never pay a shilling. And now after that, you're starting to tell them you need now to continue paying for NHIF. But they're saying, no, NHIF is old school. We are waiting for the county to give us our card.
I was actually present at the launch of the UHC card in Kisumu County. I was there. And I listened to the messages. All right? NHIF was not excluded from the discussion. Not really. But it wasn't clear. The idea was welcomed, but it raised more questions than it provided answers. Because the same questions that I'm asking now were asked.
Even at that point.
Yes, says this is a system that is understood to work. But folks, we already have NHIF. In that particular program, there were NHIF officers who are willing to help you register for NHIF, which I thought was a good thing, right there even as the meeting was taking place. However, you have to supplement the registration with the capacity of people to pay.
Yes.
Now, this is why I was talking about the groupings that we have. It is a lot easier to get people to pay for these things or to help them understand how they can pay if they're already in a registered or an organized group. Because as individuals, the moment they feel they can't do it, that'll be it.
Yep.
They'll
and then you
renege.
default, and default comes penalty, and now it just becomes a whole big
Whereas
issue.
if it's a group, the discussion will be very different.
Yeah.
Yes.
You'd be able maybe to manage the registration.
Yes, you will.
So it's a very interesting story here that looks at NHIF, what happened to it, how far are we, not NHIF, but UHC. How far are we? It's still being called one of the big 4 agenda of the President Uhuru Kenyatta's legacy. But after pilot, it's more than 2 years. No report came out of it. No proper planning of rolling out countrywide. Big questions being asked. Keep it right here because the Situation Room continues into the next hour and we'll have conversations about what's happened over the weekend. We'll want you to join the conversation as well, 0719-012-600. Yes, there's a tiff between the legislature and the judiciary. The head of the Judiciary, Chief Justice, has written to the speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate telling them, you guys are harassing my officers. The Speaker of the National Assembly has said, far from it. We are doing our job and we will do our job. And if you don't come to us, we will not give you money. Good morning. It's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Self-confessed serial killer Juma Wanjala is expected to appear in court today. Meanwhile, families of the victims are crying for justice for their children they say didn't deserve to die. Here are the parents.
Aliwa kifo uchungu sana. Kifo yenye moyo hata watu walistuka. Alikatokatwa na kaficho mwezi moja. Tulihangaika mwezi moja tukimtafuta tukumpata. Mara ya mwisho tumeenda kwa DCI kujaribu tupate haki lakini inakuwa ngumu.
Nikajaribu kutafuta mtoto wangu sikumpata hiyo siku. Hadi siku ya kufuata ndio nikaweza kumpata tarehe 16. Mtoto wangu kumbe ameuawa.
Mtoto mwerevu, mtoto hata sijui ndasema lini nampenda mtoto wangu. Hata leo nimestuka sana kusikia maneno imefanyika. Hata sasa inawaza sijui ndasema nini.
As debate on BBI continues to rage, ODM leader Raila Odinga maintains that the constitutional implementation process will continue. Speaking in Kwale, Raila said the process is on a break and that Kenyans should be ready.
Hii nimesema ya kwamba ile rege imeenda kwa likizo, inaenda kwa mpumziko ya ile half time. Na baadaye rege itakuja. Sivyo? Wanako nasema nobody can. Sasa mimi nataka kuambia nyinyi ya kwamba mjiandae.
Meanwhile, Deputy President William Ruto maintains the conversation Kenyans need is that which will improve their living conditions and not BBI, which he claims wants to create positions for individuals.
Tunawapa matumaini kwa sababu tunaweza kuzalisha nafasi za kazi kama tukiweka sera maksusi na sera makusudi, wakituambia ati kubadilisha katiba ipatikane vyeo na kugawana mamlaka ni ya dharura kuliko kupatia vijana mamilioni kazi na wale hawana biashara wafanye biashara. Na ndio tumepoteza miaka 4 tukizunguka mara rege, mara katiba, mara tubadilishe.
ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi has denied claims that he is part of the plans to revive NASA coalition. He says NASA is done and dusted and that as things stand, he is looking to the future and making new friends.
Jana nilisema kitu na watu wakajaribu kugeuza. We must look forward. NASA is the past. NASA is history. Let us move forward. Let us build new partnerships. Tujenge urafiki upya.
The Teachers Service Commission is this week expected to begin interviewing teachers who will fill 9,000 posts in an effort to reduce teacher shortage in public schools in the country. Those whose applications have been approved are expected to start the interviews on the 22nd of this month, an activity that is expected to continue until the 28th, while those who will succeed are expected to report to work on September 23rd. These are stakeholders in the education sector have warned that there will be a severe shortage of teachers when Form 1 students report to school next month. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Okay. So things are looking not so good in various parts of the country. So Mlolongo at the Weighbridge, this is all the way coming from Sabaki heading towards the Mlolongo area. Things are not looking so good because there's some traffic snarl up there. Issues upon issues. And then you come all the way to the City Cabanas area. It's busy, but it's moving. Coming all the way towards Mombasa Road is looking good. Langata Road, there's an issue as you approach Mbagathi Way. You understand that there's construction happening at Mbagathi Way. So Langata Road into Mbagathi Way, it's busy. Bunyala Road heading towards Haile Selassie Avenue and out of the Haile Selassie Avenue is also busy. Kenyatta Avenue roundabout heading towards Westlands is busy, but heading towards town is also busy. And then at the Museum Hill interchange, coming down towards the University Way roundabout, it's all backed up. Thika Road, usual suspect. So it starts this morning at Utalii, Kawaida. It comes all the way into Muthaiga, into Pangani, and starts easing off after Forest Road. That's Wangari Maathai Road. It's also, of course, very busy on Kiambu Road at the intersection with the Thika Superhighway. Whatever else is happening on the roads, let us know what's causing all these issues. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga. Researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your
6
day.
minutes after 7. Very good morning to you wherever you're tuned in. Welcome to the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room. It's Eric Latif and CT Muga this week. Nduoko has taken a break. She needs to rejuvenate, recuperate, relax, and come back here fresh. Very fresh. So CT, today's proverb.
You overcame the rain, but what about the dew?
You overcame the rain.
But what about the dew?
What about the dew?
This is a Tanzanian proverb, by the way.
Which community in Tanzania?
Not stated. Tanzania.
Skuma, Chaga, Hehe.
Tanzania.
Okay. So it's just Tanzania. Yes. Let's just be happy with that.
Please be happy. Yes, please.
Okay. Now there's something that's happened over the weekend. Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, he who is now the spokesperson of the Mount Kenya region, according to some people, and according to others, he is not. He who has said he'd like to become president of the Republic of Kenya next year. But he still now, he speaks here as, in his capacity as the third in line of succession.
Yes.
And the Speaker of the National Assembly. He has responded to the missive that was fired to him and the Speaker of the Senate, Kenneth Lusaka, by Chief Justice Martha Koome. You see, the National Assembly had summoned the Registrar of the Judiciary to come and respond to some audit issues that had been raised in audit reports. What had happened is the Auditor General had raised issues and said there are some people who are working in the judiciary and they've been in an acting capacity for a very long time. Reports that come from the Auditor General are usually taken to a departmental committee in the National Assembly called the Public Accounts Committee. So the Public Accounts Committee had summoned the Registrar of the Judiciary to come and shed light on these matters. Chief Justice Martha Koome told the registrar, do not go, and wrote now to the two heads of parliament and told them, look, your members have been issuing summonses to people who work in this institution left, right, and center. No sooner has somebody appeared before one committee than they are summoned by another committee, It's the committee of the National Assembly. Next, it will be a committee of the Senate. Somebody else is then summoned. This is becoming too much, and it's bordering on harassment. As you go ahead and do what you're required to do, which is oversighting, you're also now bordering on harassment. And she had said, I've asked my officers not to appear before any of your committees, not to honor any of your summonses until we have this issue ironed out and thrashed out. Speaker of the National Assembly has responded, and he says, world over, any parliament relies very heavily on reports from the Office of the Auditor General. When performing that function, Parliament has no option but to go by the rule of not condemning anyone unheard. By failing to appear deliberately, they, that is, the officers from the judiciary, should not blame Parliament for making whatever recommendations. Parliament would also be at liberty to, among other things, withhold funding to any auditee that persistently shows that they don't want to account for the public resources. So basically, the Speaker of the National Assembly is saying, you come or you face the consequences. There's no two-way here, right? We are performing our job. We have received a report by the Auditor General. We have not ordered this report. We have received a report. And in our oversight role, we are supposed to get answers. And that's why we are summoning your officers. So they come. If you don't account for the money, and the question remains in the Auditor General's report, then in the next cycle of budgeting, we shall factor that in. This is a fresh, nicely stewed brew. Or is it nicely brewed stew between the judiciary and the legislature?
And the question that comes to my mind is that this apparent tiff, is it really necessary? Or the question that one always asks when one reads a report such as this one is, what is really happening here? Because if I believe everything, if I am to take into account what is reported as having been said by the Speaker of the National Assembly, he speaks the truth. The Auditor General raises issues. It is their job. That's part of the oversighting. Tell the people, please come, explain to us in greater detail. We are supposed to, these are public funds, and we are supposed to provide reason as to why these things are the way they are. And you have an opportunity to explain to us why they're the way they are, so that we have a report. Up to that point, everything is okay. It isn't the first time that Parliament has summoned, whether it is judicial officers, whether it is people in the business world, whether it is county officials, whether it is governors themselves. It isn't the first time. What I'm finding interesting is why this response by the Chief Justice. Why? Because it seems like there's something else that was happening and to which she is responding. Because this is something that has always taken place. They go, they respond, and in fact, to the point where whether it is judicial officers, whether it is county officials, whether it is business people, whether it's ministerial officers, it never raises too much of an issue. It's considered a normal process. But this, now we have a situation where questions, well, in my mind it is. The question that my mind is now asking is, this normal process that we have seen from time immemorial, why is it that this particular new broom suddenly finds that this is something they would like to halt? And at what point does it cause this? Well, she has alluded that it's causing harassment. So where does normal querying begin and where does harassment begin?
I think when I listen to this, much as the Speaker of the National Assembly is actually responding with facts, that this is our job, this is what we do, and if you don't respond, then the consequence is very clear and will be justified to mete out that consequence. In that you do not come to explain the issues that have been raised, and therefore you need to explain. And if you don't explain, then we cannot continue giving you the funds. We cannot continue appropriating funds to you the way you've been asking for. All right? That's very clear. However, I think he's also playing that knowing full well that he ought to be responding to a deeper issue here that's being raised. And the deeper issue here is addressing the concern of the officers of the judiciary who are saying, if you keep summoning us left, right, and center, answer this, answer the other, is that not really taking us out of our main job to come and do your job? And I think there's an issue here to be addressed. Much as it's right that what the Speaker of the National Assembly is saying, much as what the Chief Justice is also saying, there's an issue here that just needs them to sit down and say, let's work out then.
So what if I hear you right, Eric, are you perhaps trying to say, or are you actually saying that what we are seeing playing out here is a situation where the judiciary are saying, you know something, stop using us as guinea pigs. You have issues that you need to address, and stop giving the impression that it is us who have issues to address. You sort out your own issues and stop pulling us into it by constantly summoning us to deal with things that you know very well you are the ones who are best placed to summon it. To deal with, rather. Is that what you may be saying?
I think, no. I'll put it a bit differently, but I'm saying something similar to that. But here's what I'm saying. The judiciary feels that the legislative arm of government, both the National Assembly and the Senate, are not overstepping their mandate, but they are being overzealous in executing their mandate.
Okay.
Someone me today, someone me tomorrow, someone me the day after, someone me 3 days later. I mean, come on.
But is it the same person being summoned?
It's the same officers of the judiciary.
Yes.
See, when it comes to accounting officers, it's nobody else that's going to be summoned apart from the registrar.
Yes.
So if the registrar is summoned today, registrar is summoned tomorrow, come to answer the same question. So here the report has now gone into the Committee of Public Accounts. Then there will be another issue again, another issue that is raised. the issue here was about human resource. So maybe another committee again will summon you on the issue of human resource. Another committee will It's too many times and too many answers being sought over the same issue.
If then that seems to be the thinking, or if that is the possibility of one of the ways in which you can look at it, then are we saying this is a pissing contest? Because these are two independent arms of government, all right?
Yep.
Now, each of them have been at different times been accused of exhibiting, should we say, godlike powers, meaning
superiority.
Yes, that they are a power unto themselves. Each of them have been accused at different times.
Yes.
Whether the accusations have merit is a completely different discussion, but that is it. So now, the two of them are trying to get a feel of the other. Each one says, my friend, I see where you're coming from. Go suck a lemon. The other says, really? Suck a lemon. We'll see. We're going to cut down that tree.
That's true. Because if you think about it, look at what has happened. So the judiciary issues orders saying that the National Assembly passed some laws without concurrence with the Senate. And therefore now those laws are unconstitutional. Okay? You're basically telling an organ that all that thing that you did there, zero. You have got to go and sit with the Senate and agree on how you make that law.
Yes.
And so those laws are not going to apply until you do that. What do you think is going to happen with those guys? They're like, mutaona.
But it doesn't start or end there. There are very, very many laws that Parliament has actually passed, and many of them are stuck in court.
Yes.
Meaning, the government has set in motion a process of doing certain things. The thing goes to court, the court holds it.
Yep.
So are we seeing perhaps accumulation of issues that have arisen over time where Parliament feels that they have wanted things to go in a certain direction and the court has, with the powers given to them and with the laws that are at their disposal to determine things with, they've said, no, folks, sorry, that's not the direction we're going. And until we determine it, halt everything. Yes. I don't think there's any time in the history of this country where we've had as many directives, whether it's the presidential directive or parliamentary directives, have been halted by the court process like the ones we have now.
And then the courts have also now complained that, okay, now these are the two arms of government are trying to stifle it of the much needed cash. We need money to roll out our programs. Okay, who stops us? The executive and the legislature, who have the authority to make a budget, are not giving us the money that we need. So like you said, it's a pissing contest. And it's between the three arms of government, actually, even if we just extend it. It's between the three arms of government. Yeah. If we look at it from the way we are looking at it now, is it part of what you've been saying? It's a good way of us entrenching our laws and our constitution.
Of us understanding it better.
And making sure that everybody understands their place, their boundary from this is where it begins, this is where it ends. But in the meantime, who's suffering?
In the meantime, justice is delayed. In the meantime, things that might actually be beneficial to the citizenry is delayed. But I don't have a problem with that insofar as the due process of law is being followed. If some vendetta-like process is the one which we are seeing unfolding, and people are trying to show each other which one of them has bigger muscles, then of course I cannot support such a thing. But unfortunately, I do not have the power. Beyond speaking, I don't have the power to do anything else. You see, this accusation even began much earlier than what we are seeing now. There have been arms of government and specifically spokespeople from the executive who have repeatedly said that the bottleneck to the pursuit of justice and the ending of corruption is our
judiciary.
Yes. They have said it over and over. I have wondered myself, because when the question is raised, okay, so explain. How is it? Oh, they're always stopping this. But then I said, but have they gone outside the boundaries of the process that they're supposed to follow? You see, like what the Speaker of the National Assembly is being quoted to have said, that they cannot make a determination without giving whoever it is that they wanted to speak to an opportunity to present their case. Very balanced, very sensibly said. Very balanced. Because essentially what they're saying is, if we summon you and you don't come, the decision we arrive at, it is your shauri. That now is no longer in our hands. Because we'll have done our bit, we'll have given you the opportunity. If you don't take it.
But you see, that's where now also you dangle that carrot badly. Because you're saying, if you want continued support from us, you have to keep jumping whenever we say jump. And then these other guys are saying, I'm busy. I'm also supposed to be serving the same citizens that you're serving. Now, if you think by shouting jump, you're serving the citizens, when I jump, I'm not necessarily serving the citizens because my job is not jumping. The job that the citizens expect me to do is to dispense justice. When I jump, I'm distracted from my main job. Your main job is to shout jump. By doing your job, you're interfering with mine. By doing your job with such zealousness, you are now bordering on harassment. That's what the Chief Justice is saying.
You know, remember the debate that we keep having regarding the unfolding details of our Constitution, its operationalization, and the things that pertain to it. Consider this for a single second. Here we are talking about our Constitution, talking about our laws. But you know what we're also talking about? The people who won, those charged with implementing it, those charged with creating some of these laws in compliance with the Constitution, and their attitude towards the law. From what I also get, these individuals who hold these high offices seem to think that by holding those high offices, they are the law. So that when they state something, your job requirement is to comply, not to question, not to bring a discussion about it, comply. Now, I'm going to take this discussion further and say it's a dictatorial mindset that many people in authority in our country have. The police have it. They tell you something. Hey, unaongea na nani? And I say, folks, you made a statement, I'm responding. So it's like anyone who has authority expects that when they speak, your job is to comply and to comply quickly, not to go around asking questions and even debating or even seeking clarity. You have been told. In fact, the other discussion is, why are you not listening to what you're being told? You have been told. Why aren't you obeying these orders? Now, if you have a mindset such as that one, and then someone is in authority, and then two arms of government who both have independent powers and are both independent, and they both have a similar mindset and similar attitude, do you see a middle ground being reached, or do you see a situation when there's going to be continuous conflict?
That's why there's going to be continuous conflict. Because none of these people is willing to back down. None of them is basically looking at it from the point of, let's sit down. Come, let us reason together, says the Lord.
Yep.
But here they are. They do not want to do that. And I think that's where the solution lies. The solution lies in us locking these three people. The head of the executive, the head of the legislature, the heads of the legislature, and the head of the judiciary. Sit somewhere until white smoke comes out. Agree, this is the law. You're all going to obey the law, but this is how the boundaries within which you're going to deal with one another. Because when you see the head of executive deciding, I have been given this list, but I'm not going to appoint so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. The head of the judiciary saying, I have a mandate to execute, and I have basically allowed my officers just go ahead and apply the law to the letter. Do not contextualize application of the law. It is the law. This is what the law says. Stop saying that but you see in our context
apply
now,
it.
Today, apply the law. You have the parliament.
Yes, legislature.
Parliament is now, their head is saying, are you supposed to summon someone to come and respond? You summon. And if the person doesn't come, you're at liberty then to go ahead and apply the consequences as the law allows you to. That whole issue here needs to be sorted out by these three people just being locked somewhere and told, sit, talk until you agree. Talk until you agree. Because you can't go and start legislating again. Okay, so how shall the relationship between these two be? No. We cannot come up with a new law on how if the Chief Justice feels disgruntled, how should she initiate conversations and dialogue with whichever other head of government? No. We have enough laws. I
But
think.
you know this, there's something positive in all this as far as I'm concerned. I would really hate to see a situation where these people are buddying up, because they'll then collude, and my friend, we will see dust. I prefer the situation where they have an adversarial relationship. I personally like it, because that way, at least you know they are not going to collude to pull us.
There's checks and balances.
There's a clear check, because everyone's saying, oh, that's it. Okay.
But does check and balance have to be adversarial?
No. We are seeing a process of how we're dealing with these things. Remember what I've called the tyranny of habit. If you look at the way we talk, Eric, as Kenyans, and the way we actually like things, we're all mini dictators in our own way. We actually like to tell you some people things, and we like them to obey, not to go around asking us questions. Yes. So long as I have a sliver of authority.
I have said.
Have I not said? Huh? Or did you not hear?
Yes.
Huh? So, but I was thinking, did I ask you to think? Huh?
I have said.
Why don't you do what you have been told, and then when you've done it, then we can have a discussion?
Yes.
And the discussion will be, now go and do this. Something else for you to do.
That's the Kenyan way of doing things.
Yes. Now, you take that Kenyan, and you're talking about this modern way of looking at things, and you're looking at the issue of human rights. Human rights is only important so long as you're discussing it, but the application of it, the human right has to do with my right as the authority telling you what to do, and your right in doing what I've told you what to do. That is now an application of human rights the way I see it as an interpretation of Kenyans. But human rights, in the real sense of the word, where somebody actually has a right as a human being and they're innocent until proven guilty. Kangogo was guilty before she died, before she was proven guilty, she was guilty.
Yeah.
No court of law had given an opportunity to hear what she had to say. She was guilty.
Yep.
She isn't the only one. Now, that particular mindset, when it comes from the very top, when it comes from the head of the three arms of government, and they are all exhibiting the same quality, what do they think they're doing? They are simply furthering that mindset among Kenyans, where Kenyans will believe that so long as somebody is in authority, why do you think this alignment to our people, my person, my community, my this, my the other, why do you think we can't seem to demolish it? It's because it has to do with power. So long as that person has power and you are attached to that person, you also have power.
Yes.
Now, you tell me, somebody has the power to decide, very simply as a layman, whether you go to jail or you don't go to jail, whether you pay a fine, you don't pay a fine. How much power do you think that person has?
That's a very powerful person.
Yes. Then you have this person who has been told they can decide how much to pay themselves, how much to... They can decide. So long as they agree, they can decide. How much power do you think that is? Then you have somebody who has powers to now decide who should take this job, who shouldn't, which direction to go, which minister to appoint.
Who can be arrested.
Yeah, who shouldn't never be arrested, who should be left alone. Now, you tell me, how do you see it playing out? You find appointments, the courts tell you, this is this, illegal. Remove.
Atukubali.
Do you see any CS who is still not working? They're working.
All CAS are in office.
Yes. Yet the courts have ruled that their positions are illegal. All right? Now, there are examples galore as to each of these power structures playing these power games, each one showing that they can do exactly what they like. Now, so long as that mindset prevails, I pray that these tiffs continue. It is my prayer that these disagreements continue. But it is my even more earnest prayer that the disagreements are real. Because so long as they're real, we will be protected. The day they get to agree, we are done for.
I think they need to agree. Not agree on how on that they want to collude, but agree on how they shall relate. Because this issue of heads of government having a public spats seeing a Chief Justice standing at the steps of the Supreme Court of Kenya issuing a statement. Mr. President, I've been trying to look for you. I can't find you. Mr. President, I want to talk to you. Mr. President, I want us to address this issue. That Chief Justice leaves. Another Chief Justice comes, says, Mr. President, you must appoint those judges. President does not. Speakers, you cannot summon our people like this. You're harassing our people. Speaker says, harassing what? In fact, we just don't show up. It's a big one issue. I think that's a big issue. And I want us to I want you to join the conversation now. 0719-012-600 as we take this break. Do you agree with Chief Justice Martha Koome that Parliament is harassing the judiciary? Do you agree with Chief Justice Martha Koome that Parliament is harassing the judiciary when they issue summonses left, right and centre to judicial officers, especially the Registrar of the Judiciary, to come to Parliament for this, the other, left, right and centre, to a point where the Chief Justice says, you have summoned us so many times, this now borders on harassment. Speaker of the National Assembly says, we are just doing our job. We are supposed to get answers when questions are raised by the Auditor General. And that's what we are seeking. Call us now and we'll take your calls and hear from you. Good morning. It's 7:30.
24/7 around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Losing a loved one is never easy. The lingering memories, the what-ifs, but in all the gloom, we find ways of celebrating them. And here at the Standard Tributes, we aim to give your loved ones that befitting send-off. Visit www.standardmedia.co.ke/tributes today and post your loved one's tribute. In addition, get access to funeral services from our trusted vendors. The Standard Tributes, keeping memories alive.
As the Kenyans are roared into the home straight here. 4 Kenyan queens have lit up this balmy Bahamian night.
It's where the rivalry is unmatched, where the soul meets the track, where the great are distinguished from the good. An arena where the records are broken.
A new world record. It's not just been beaten, it's been obliterated.
A stage where the legends are born. For Team Kenya, the Olympics is more than just a sport. It is our tradition. It's an event that has put Kenya on the roadmap. The Standard Group lets you watch every minute and every action live in the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Because we live for Team Kenya. We live for the game. At Standard Group, sports lives here.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. No, ni mtu wa Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows.
The weather with SpiceFM.
Okay, how's the situation looking like in Nairobi? It's currently mostly cloudy at 14 degrees, but the temperature is going to improve and rise to 23. In Mombasa, 23 with light rains. It's going to rise to 28. Kakamega at 18 degrees currently. It's going to be a sunny day at 27. Malindi, light rain throughout the day at 28 degrees. Eldoret is going to be partly sunny, currently at 13. It'll hit 22 later. Nakuru, mostly sunny at 14, but it'll hit highs of 24. Nyeri, light rains at 13 with highs of 20. Kisumu, sunny day at 29. And Kampala, Uganda, Cloudy day at 26. Kinshasa, cloudy day at 21, currently at rising to 31. Dar es Salaam in Tanzania, it's partly sunny at 22, rising to 30. Johannesburg, South Africa is only 3 degrees presently. It's going to hit highs of 16. Lagos in Nigeria, light rains and 29 as the high. In China, Beijing is light rains at 27, hitting 29 later. Paris, France, highs of 29 and mostly sunny day. London is going to be highs of 29 and a clear day. New York, cloudy day at 28 degrees.
Spice up your life.
All right, so let's look at Jogoo Road now. Jogoo Road, right around Makadara, is looking quite busy, coming all the way into Mbotela. But then also it picks up again after City Stadium roundabout into City Stadium roundabout and going on to Landis Road into town. Mombasa Road is not looking so bad, apart from the usual areas at Southern Bypass and also at City Cabanas roundabout. But then, not roundabout, but overpass. The area into Mlolongo is still not looking very good. And this is from Sabaki coming into Mlolongo. There's been some heavy traffic there this morning. What exactly is happening there? Is it things to do with the Way Bridge? Let us know if you know. Langata Road coming towards Mbagathi Way roundabout is busy, coming all the way from Dama Estate, tailback into that area. And then into Nyayo Stadium roundabout and the junctions with Langata Road and Lusaka Road. It's very busy. Also busy from that point on into the CBD and out of the CBD and into the Museum Hill interchange, coming into town and getting out of town as well. Let's know if there's anything that you'd like us to talk about in addition to Thika Road. That's usually the way it is from Utali interchange, Utali Drift coming into town. Anything that you'd like us to talk about, SpiceFM KE on YouTube, Facebook or Twitter. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Wrote to speakers of the National Assembly and the Senate saying, "You've been summoning our officers from the judiciary very many times, left, right, and center. One time, an official from the judiciary is summoned by the National Assembly Committee A, next time Committee B, next time Senate Committee A, next time Senate Committee B." And the Chief Justice was saying, it appears some of these members are basically just pushing their own personal agenda, or if not personal agenda, then they're just purely harassing judicial officers. If they're not pursuing individual interests, they're bordering on harassing our judicial officers. And she said, I'd like us to meet as head of the judiciary and heads of the legislature to discuss this. We are asking you this question this morning. Call us 0719-012-600. Do you agree with Chief Justice Martha Koome that Parliament is harassing judicial officers? Do you agree with Chief Justice Martha Koome that Parliament is harassing judicial officers? Speaker of the National Assembly, Justin Muturi, responded to her yesterday, said, what we're going to do is we're going to continue doing our job. Okay? What you're going to do is you're going to let your officers come before Parliament when they're summoned. Should they not come, and these questions, audit queries are not responded to, and the concerns are not responded to, then we have no option but to look at how much money we are sending to you. Because if you can't account for the money that's been sent to you, how do we account to the citizens who've sent us here to make sure that you're accountable? This is an issue that's just unfolding. 0719-012-600. Karanja in Naivasha. Good morning. Karanja.
Hurricane City. Yes. Good morning, Hurricane City.
Good morning. Karanja.
Yes. Do you hear me well?
Yes, we hear.
We are well, thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Now, somebody says power corrupts and power corrupts absolutely.
Yep.
Now, I think the Parliament asking any member of the Judicial Commission to appear before their committees, I think it's right. Because in parliament proceedings, we have what we call the question times. And most of the cases, these question times, if an MP asks any question demanding an answer from the judiciary or demanding an answer from the CS, NCS, the question is deferred to the relevant committees.
Yes.
Where maybe MP for Naivasha can ask any question on why there are backlogs in the cases. Maybe for instance, in Naivasha law courts. Now the speaker would direct the relevant committees to ask the question to the Judicial Commission on that issue. Now, I think the statement issued by the Chief Justice, what he is talking about, I think she's not right. Because the judiciary lies to the parliament. Isn't it? The judiciary also, there are three arms of the government which lies to each other. You know, we have questions in this judiciary. For instance, how do they deal with the issue of the backlogs? How do they spend their money? Although they are not given the right money that they are supposed to be given, but there are questions that we are raising. So I think the statement issued by the Madam, the respected Chief Justice, I think he needs to reverse that call, because now he's telling us they are not going to abdicate their primary role of judicial to answer questions against the committees in Parliament. How can an MP for Naivasha ask questions about the law court in Naivasha unless they are not going to lie to each other?
That's true. So you don't think the Parliament is harassing the judiciary?
You know, it's not harassing.
Okay.
The three arms of government need to lie to each other so that they can communicate diligently.
All right.
Thank you very much, Eric City.
Thank you very much, Karanja. 0719-012-600. Is Parliament harassing the judiciary? This is what was basically being said by the Chief Justice when she was saying she in fact asked her officers not to appear, not to honor any of the summonses by any committee of Parliament until this matter is resolved. So here are the issues that are bringing this matter to a head. Appointments in the judiciary have been cited to be the heart of the latest standoff and was triggered by the Public Account Committee's summons to the Human Resources Committee of the Judicial Service Commission over failure to appoint officers substantively. One of the Auditor General 2018-2019 report flagged instances where senior officers have been in acting capacity for more than 3 years, contrary to the judiciary's HR policies. The committee had sought details about this cause for all candidates in 2 interviews held in 2015 and 2019 for the position of Director of Finance. The committee has also demanded details of the difference in remuneration between the substantive holder of the position and that of an acting officer. The current acting head of finance, Susan Oyatsi, who participated in the 2 interviews, has since moved to court to stop hiring of a new head of finance after the judiciary advertised the position for the 3rd time. Already, the Public Accounts Committee, through its chairman, Opio Wandai, has written to Muturi seeking guidance if they can write their report without a response from the judiciary. So here is the thing. A particular position, and there are more than 10 officers who are in acting capacity for a very long time. One of these ones, like if you look at this case, Susan Oyatsi, she's been in acting capacity. In 2015, the Judicial Service Commission advertised for the position of Director of Finance. She's acting. She applied. She went for the interviews. Interviews were conducted. The JSC did not appoint anyone. 2019, JSC again advertises for the position. She's among the applicants. She's among the interviewees. No substantive appointment is made. Again, the JSC has advertised, and she's gone to court and she said, hey, surely. What is the issue here? I've been in this position acting. I've participated in interviews. You have not selected somebody. And now you're advertising again. This is picked by the Auditor General when she's doing her audit. It's put in a report. The report is taken, of course, to Parliament, which consumes the Auditor General's reports. The Parliamentary Accounts Committee summons the relevant HR committee of the Judicial Service Commission. Come and explain to us the issues here. Chief Justice says, come on. No. Today it's HR. Tomorrow it's, I don't know how, account for which money. The other day is account for something else. Some of these people are pursuing personal interests.
There's an avenue that lends itself to that thinking, because how do you explain Oyati's case? If somebody is acting in that position, it means they're doing the job, but without their benefit if she was a substantive holder of that office.
Yep.
So what is it? You want to get the service on the cheap.
You want to keep advertising and re-advertising.
But she's doing the job.
And she's doing the
She's
job.
actually doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
Such a person, I think, even as you're going through this process, remember we had a debate which was sorted out again by these erstwhile court systems of ours, of the MD for Kenya Ports Authority.
Mm-hmm.
Yes? Remember?
Yes.
Yeah. Where there was a little saga of a former ambassador being appointed. And the debate, if you look at everything else that was being said, you know something? Yes, you can appoint, but the person needs to have been at least an employee of this institution. You can then explain how it is that they've gotten the point of being appointed. But this is somebody who's never been in this system at all. But you know that issue was settled, and His Excellency is now MD of Kenya Ports Authority. But here you have a case of somebody who has worked in this system, and they have actually been in an acting position. They have been working, and yet the position still gets to be advertised.
Yeah.
There are cases that one can look at, and even with just those two cases, you have to ask the question, what really is happening here?
The HR policy of this institution says you cannot be in an acting capacity for more than 3 years.
Oh, she's been in acting capacity for more than 3 years.
She has actually been in acting capacity for more than 3 years, and she is not the only one, according to the Auditor General's report.
No, she's not.
There are others in the same institution.
And in the same institution, yes.
So the question then arises, what's happening?
It is a valid question. And so when one is asked to explain this, they're being harassed, are they?
Well, there's that bit. There's also the other bit that the Chief Justice is talking about, personal interest. We must not run away from the fact that maybe what the Chief Justice is talking about is something she's aware of. Okay? Maybe she's aware of underhand campaigning and canvassing for people to occupy this particular position. And those people either have interest or connections in Parliament or are members of Parliament. So when somebody who is in this committee says, unajua mtakuja kwa committee yangu, mpatieni huyu mtu kazi, ama tuone. She can talk about that.
You know,
this is not really something that's unheard of, especially when it comes to Parliament and how it conducts its oversight role. We've had very many times Parliament summoning people and their accusations and counter-accusations, but then they were summoning me because I had refused to do this and the other. They summoned me and yet I had paid somebody this and the other. We have seen those reports before. Complaints here and there. It's not unheard of.
Not is it only not unheard of. Unfortunately, there are committees within Parliament who it is claimed are notorious for the very thing that you're saying.
Yeah.
And there are those who've also argued that members of these said committees also tend to be fairly wealthy. And their wealth goes beyond what it is that is known as the declared sources of income and whatever businesses they may have. And so the only conclusion one can come to is that if what is being said is actually true, then it means that they have profited from this position of power and they've been able to extort money from people who they know will come before those committees.
Yes.
So essentially, they have been selling favors. They know, I'm in this committee. When you come to see us, my friend, if you want this thing to go the way you want it to go, this is what you need to do.
Pay a protection fee.
Yes. Remember cases where, whether it is KEMSA, whether it is other huge scandals within the government, at some point they end up in Parliament. So The question that is actually being asked here is this. Just like there have been accusations that when it comes to security matters, that very many, not the majority, very many members of our security forces have their services for sale, meaning depending on who has the money. The judiciary has been accused of the same.
Yeah.
Now Parliament is being accused of the same.
Of the same.
Yes.
By the judiciary.
By the judiciary. Implicitly, of course, not directly.
Not directly.
Yes.
Let's hear from you. 0719-012-600 or SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Do you agree with Chief Justice Martha Koome that Parliament is harassing judicial officers? Soja wa Mundoro says Parliament is harassing everybody in Kenya, not only the judiciary. Everybody. Ayogo Ben says Parliament has always been harassing the judiciary. That's no doubt. Whereas Geoffrey says everywhere she's being harassed, not only by the president in the executive, now it's Parliament. Ameanza kulia mapema sana na bado hata BBI haijapita. Really? Hudson Owero says, I totally agree, because the Parliament is literally zero grazing the judiciary in their locked fortress. Everyone sees that, and something needs to be done to curb this devastating problem. Whereas Eric Muturi says, Chief Justice Martha Koome is 100% correct. Those MPs are just playing their games. There's a perception that Parliament here, if you look at these comments, that, Parliament is harassing the judiciary. And then there's the other perception that, okay, well, like what we heard from Karanja, you need to be accountable. You've been given money. You've been given money to build courts. You've been given money to hire more staff. You've been given money. What are you doing?
It works. It goes both ways. Huh? Just in as much as the judiciary seems to be accusing the legislature seems to be doing the same thing. Because look, if it is being said that people in positions of power within our structure of government, that there are individuals or there are groupings of individuals who lend their services for money, then if it works in one arm of government, it most certainly works in another arm of government. Now, the issue here is everyone here, that's what I call the pissing contest. Everyone to show which particular arm of government has more power than the other. Okay. You guys are going to continue coming to appear here. If you don't do what we're telling you, okay, let's see how you'll function. Since you think you're that clever, let us see how clever you actually are. And they're saying, that's what you think. All right. Pray that no case comes before us. No one is saying it, but it's implicit. Then you also will receive the gift of sight. You will see.
We need an end to this. I know you said that it's good when they are like this.
It's very good.
Because it means that their checks and balances are in place.
Very serious checks and
balances. Checks and balances, though, are when Parliament summons the judiciary.
Yes.
All right, and explains, we are summoning you because of this and the other. However, checks and balance should also be peppered with a proper protocol and working procedure. If we are going to summon, then let's agree that this is how we shall be communicating our summonses, and this is how we shall balance. If there's a committee that's looking at, if there are 3 committees that are looking at the same thing, we shall harmonize the work of the 3 committees so that we summon you once.
I think the negotiations have actually begun with a statement that began with the Chief Justice that her officers were advised not to attend or to respond to these summons, or the negotiations has begun. What the Speaker of the National Assembly has done is also given his part of the contribution to the conversation. I believe the conversation has begun. This one has said, this one has also said. Now the conversations will actually begin.
Whereas Jonathan Kadenga says this is absolutely true. There's a question by Patrick Agoyason who says, I have a question. Who oversights the Oversight Committee of Parliament?
Us.
Who's oversighting the Oversight Committee of Parliament?
It's actually us.
Well, the committee is first of all oversighted by the entire House and then the citizens.
Us. It's us.
And
it's
the
us.
other arms of government as well.
It's us. It's us, really. Because it's just that they seem to understand their oversight roles and they've added themselves more responsibilities than perhaps our constitution gives them. It's us who haven't understood that this entire constitution actually is ours and that this government is actually also ours. We are the ones, us as wananchi watukufu, we are the ones who haven't comprehended it fully yet. Because if we did, we wouldn't be asking these questions of how to hold people accountable. We'd be holding them accountable. And they'd know. The reason why these so-called Western countries and these so-called mature democracies work, the people who are elected are very finely tuned to what the citizenry want. Very finely tuned. And they also understand the dictates of the law and how the law can work for them or against them. They are, again, very finely tuned towards it. Now, what this adds up to is that they are more likely to obey the law than not to. Ours are the opposite. They are more likely to break the law or disregard it when it suits their purposes. In fact, the law is an impediment unless it's going to help them. It's a very different mindset. But the oversight that the Mwananchi provides is what enables this to happen. Because at the end of the day, you know that same Mwananchi, you know these cases that Omtata has been taken to court, there are very few things that have represented, in my view, the so-called public capacity to hold all the institutions within our government accountable. Because that's what has been happening. And then the role that civil society has also played, the role that the media has also played, that is, of course, when we are not advertising political gimmicks day in and day out.
Yeah.
It's the same role. But now, the citizenry and the understanding of the capacity that the Constitution actually affords them and what they can do with it, that hasn't sunk in yet.
It's still out there.
It's still out there. We are still lending it and leasing it to other people and sometimes outrightly abandoning it to other people instead of claiming it and owning it and utilizing it as we ought to.
But what needs to happen for us to own it?
Let me ask this question, Eric. Do you really think we want to own it? Do you really think the citizenry of this country actually want to put into operation the powers that they actually have? Do we want to hold our Tukufu? Do we want to hold our Shimewa to account for the things that they do? Do we really want to? Do we want to question them? Are we prepared to question authority?
I'll answer it with a different question. Or perhaps let me not frame it as a question, but as an answer.
Yes.
I don't think we believe that we can.
Why?
I think if you ask many people, they'll tell you, but what's the point? They're going to do what they want anyway.
Meaning we've given up even before we began.
Yeah. We talk about, we have the sovereign power, we are the ones who say, it says in Kusema, but we actually don't believe that it says in Kusema. People will tell you, why participate in an election where the outcome is already predetermined? People will tell you, so why ask these people so many questions and nothing is going to change? If they want to increase their salary, they'll increase their salary. No matter how much noise you make. To what end? Now, the work that is there is to change that paradigm shift. Is to change that.
That paradigm so that it actually shifts.
So that it shifts. So that people can just feel that, yes, when we act, there is result. But as long as you act and you feel, you acted once, there was no result. You made a lot of noise. These MPs, they increase their salary. They increase their salary. They've been earning their salary. This and the other. It happens. You feel, so what's the point? Telling me I have power. I actually don't have power. Power is with the system. That's why those ones now are very well entrenched in this society. Tell people about the system, they believe you. Tell people about deep state, they believe you. Tell people about them being the power.
That's food for thought, Eric. It's actually food for thought because this is not even helplessness, it's hopelessness. Because it's like suggesting that people absolutely feel that there is not very little they can do. There is nothing they can do. And I'm saying that's a falsehood. There's a lot they can do.
There's a lot that we can do. And especially if you come together, you don't even need to do much.
No.
Just bark.
That's it.
And they'll back off.
Of course they will.
Just bark, be loud enough with the bark, and they will back off. Keep it right here. The conversation continues. In the next hour, I want to ask this. Should everybody have a right to vote in this country? Even those that are not paying tax. Now that we were talking about taxation the other day. We pay so much tax. Should everybody have a right to vote in this country, even those that do not contribute with direct taxes. What are indirect? Direct taxes. Good morning. It's now 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. The police are hopeful that the bodies of 12 more children will be identified this week, with the main suspect, Master Milimo Anjala, expected to direct police to 8 more places where he has confessed to dumping the bodies. Last Friday, Milimo took police to 2 places in Mlolongo, in an abandoned building and a sewage disposal facility where more bodies were found. So far, 7 bodies have been found. As police continue to investigate the death of Police Constable Caroline Chemutai Kangogo was found dead, her family has now said their daughter committed suicide. Her father, Barnabas Kibor, a retired police officer, has dismissed rumors that Chemutai may have been killed elsewhere and her body transported to their home, insisting that her daughter was transported home by a boda rider at 10 p.m. before committing suicide in their bathroom with the door closed from inside.
Sitaki tu ile vitu vingine ya watu ya kusema atio sijui aliuawa na mwingine na ndio akaletwa hapo. Hiyo ni nasema ni uongo, sababu nimethibitisha. Walifunga pap tokea upande wa ndani, na hiyo pap haikuna vile mtu anaweza weka mtu ndani atoke na afunge. Yeye mwenyewe alichifungia ndani ya pap, sababu aliweka chapi ya ndani na kufanya upelelezi. Nikapata kijana boda ambaye ni haribu ya kwamba alilete toka Iten saa 3 mpaka hapa kitu kama saa 4 ya usiku, na hiyo kijana hakujua ni msichana wangu.
As 2022 general elections fast approaches, politicians seem to be laying their strategies and looking for like-minded individuals who will campaign their agenda. Musalia Mudavadi's ANC was in Mount Kenya region this weekend, seeking to make new friends ahead of the general elections, with Senator Johnson Sakaja saying Jubilee, just like ANC, is looking for new friends who will help cement their position.
We in Jubilee, because I'm in Jubilee Party, we're waiting for you to finish with the past. Finish with the past, look to the future. We are looking for new friends. We want to expand and grow our party, because you've seen what happened.
Tukiwa ndani ya ANC tunatafuta uhusiano na watu wa Mount Kenya, Mlima Kenya.
As the cold weather continues to be felt in Nairobi and other parts of the country, you are asked to take extra precautions as respiratory illnesses tend to flare up, with Meteorological Department reporting lows of 14 in Nairobi and as low as 10 in some areas. Medics are now urging parents to be cautious with their children and ensuring that their hygiene is constantly monitored. Here is Medic Anthony Akoto.
Ensure that their children do not share personal items like the handkerchiefs or other personal clothing. Also, the children are warmly clothed, because most children will want to be out and play as usual, regardless of what the weather is like. In a cold season, people are most likely to huddle together. A few issues with hygiene, like bathing, like hand washing with soap, use of maybe sanitizers. People feel it's an inconvenience because it's cold. The water is cold.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right. So throughout the CBT today, at this particular hour, on a Monday like this one, you expect traffic. So let's start with Thika Road coming towards town. So Thika Road is quite busy, especially coming from Utalii towards town, towards Pangani, and Kiambu Road is getting as well very, very busy in that intersection into Thika Superhighway. Mlolongo has been having issues this morning and still there. It's still looking as bad from Sabaki coming towards Mlolongo towards the Weybridge. Let's look at Jogoo Road. Jogoo Road was not looking so good earlier, especially out of Outer Ring Road, but it's cleared up. But as you get into Mbotela area, it's busy. As you get towards the City Stadium roundabout, it's very, very busy. From that point on, going all the way towards Landis Road is also very busy, and Landings Road into town. The Mombasa Road at the usual roundabouts, starting with Nyayo Stadium roundabout at Lusaka, Bunyala roundabout, and all the way into Haile Selassie roundabout, busy. University Way, and also at the interchange and Kenyatta Avenue roundabouts, very busy. Langata Road coming towards Mbagathi Way, It's actually now stretching up. It's almost going all the way into Dama Estate area. So that's also very, very, very busy. Westlands coming towards town is also quite busy, but not so bad as it is getting out of town near the construction area. Anything that you think we need to know about? SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up,
It's 6
not
minutes
down.
after 8. Kenya's biggest conversation continues. This is the third hour of the conversation this morning. Eric Latif and C.T. Muga with you. Nduako is away on leave for this week. We want to welcome our audience on KTN Home who join us this hour to the top of the hour, and also those who are following us on social media, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, and on radio throughout the country, Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, and Malindi. CT, today's proverb.
You overcame the rain, but what about the dew?
You overcame the rain.
Yes.
What about the dew?
Mm-hmm.
So you dealt with the big one.
Overhead,
rain, it's a lot, it's loud.
Yes. However.
So you came up with an umbrella, with a raincoat, and then the dew.
And then the dew.
It's not jumping on you.
No.
You're just rubbing
But it's in your path.
I think there's a Swahili methali of that sort. Something like, you have dealt with the major things. Have you dealt with the minors as well? Right?
That really is the direction in which we are heading, yes. That's the thinking.
Don't just think of the majors. Think of the minors as well.
Yes. But at the heart of it, if you look carefully, if we take the view that Proverbs always have some hidden meaning, what this one seems to be cautioning people against is actually pride. Because it's pride that leads you into considering certain things as being insignificant. Or probably more pointedly, other people as being insignificant. Yes. Or should I say not significant enough?
Good one. Now, we saw a by-election happening on Friday.
We did.
In Kiambaa.
We did.
Voter turnout was as expected in the by-elections, low, but there was a lot of enthusiasm with those who participated in that by-election. We have seen other by-elections as well this year. This year we've had a number. We've had a by-election in Machakos County for senator. We've had a by-election in Juja for member of parliament, in Kabuchai, in Matungu, in 2 constituencies, in Kisii areas, and then many by-elections for member of the county assembly. And we are gearing up towards next year's general election.
Yes.
IEBC is about to ramp up a voter registration exercise. Now, for avoidance of doubt, like you like saying, voter registration happens throughout. It does not stop. You want to register as a voter today, you can register as a voter. However, they now push a campaign to register more voters where they bring voter registration clerks at various places closer to you so you can come and register. And you choose your preferred polling station and your constituency, and thereby also your ward and your constituency and your county. Now, how many voters did we have as at last count in 2017? 19.6 million registered voters. 19,611,423 registered voters, with Nairobi having the bulk of them at 2.25 million. And then the other county that had many voters is Kiambu with 1.18 million, and others with less than a million. All of them with less than a million. All right? But in total, 19.6 million registered voters in the country. Now, there's a conversation that has been happening, and it was started by, I don't know whether this is the original author of this particular one, but JC Okore, and it has been shared as a screenshot on social media platforms, on Twitter, on WhatsApp, and many around social media, where he says IEBC has a voter register of 19.6 million voters. The Kenya Revenue Authority received only 5.5 million tax returns by the 30th of June. Right? Remember that exercise?
Yes.
For people to file their tax returns? 5.5 million tax returns were returned. At least half of them are likely to be nil returns. People who are saying, you know what, I had no income, so I did not pay any tax, so nil. So, if you just do the math, 19.6 minus 5.5, you have 14.1 million voters who make decisions for everybody else, but likely pay no taxes and do not care what you will do. A maxim during the French Revolution was that he is not a citizen who does not pay taxes. A true voter register should only be 2.75 million strong. If we remove the people who voted for others to punish others, okay, let me just read for this. If you remove the people who voted, for example, in Kiambu County for Ferdinand Waitito to punish William Kabogo, and those who will vote for William Ruto to punish Uhuru Kenyatta, we should be left with a very small, manageable voter register that makes our voting take only 2 hours for all the results to be announced. Open polling centers, close in an hour, count in an hour, 2 hours. Saa 4 asubuhi, we know the results. We've had this conversation on this show before.
Yes, we have.
Should people who don't contribute direct taxes be voters? Should they go ahead and make a decision for those that contribute? You elect members of parliament to go and oversight the executive and the legislature, the executive to go and run government programs using taxpayers' money, the judiciary to dispense justice and to make sure that everybody has access to justice. They are also funded by taxpayers, but the taxpayers are just about 3 million. Should we not just allow those taxpayers to make the decisions on who becomes the implementer of government programs and who becomes the overseer of those government programs? Why are we having 14 million voters who go and vote and yet they are not contributing to the kitty? It is not their money that is being used. It's not their money that questions will be asked.
It's an appropriate question and it raises an appropriate debate. But the moment you raise that debate, you then bring in an even bigger debate. Human rights. Universal suffrage. Does this right include or does it exclude your capacity, willingness, or actual contribution to the taxation system of your country? Is it a must for one to pay tax in order to have the right to actually vote? But it will raise even other questions beyond voting and beyond the right. Because if you want to peg every right that we have to your paying taxes, okay, understanding that you may not have the ability, but you have in the past paid taxes, then what else are you saying? Are we saying, therefore, that the large number of individuals who've never been able to pay tax, not because they don't want to, but it's because despite their being adults and being registered voters, they're unable to pay taxes because they do not have jobs, or whatever occupation they have doesn't actually enable them to pay tax because they fall below that bracket of earning that, should we say, puts you in the tax-paying bracket. Now, what am I saying? I'm saying I wish this discussion was as simple as it has been presented. The discussion is a lot more robust. It is a lot more detailed than it has been presented here.
What is complicating this discussion?
It's not complicating it. What ought to be considered if you want to have this discussion as it's currently stated? You say, yes, what you said makes perfect sense. But if I leave those who actually work and perhaps deliberately don't pay taxes, I am asking the question, of these 14 million, 19 million that we're talking about, how many of these people fall into the category of youth? How many of them are under the age of, say, 35? And how many of them are actually employed? Now, if they are not employed, does it therefore mean that because they are not employed and so cannot pay taxes? And by the way, when you say cannot pay taxes, that is also not a true statement.
Direct taxes.
Yes. They do not pay direct taxes. Now, if that is then the case, then I think we will be very, very directly infringing on the rights as citizens of this country.
Okay, we know we can talk about rights until cows come home, but then there's also the reality. For example, in this country, we have said people who make an income of less than 24,000 shillings are exempt from paying pay-as-you-earn, all right, income tax. We have accepted.
Yes.
If you've been exempted from paying income tax, why don't we just also say exempt you from making a decision on how those taxes are applied? Until the moment when you rise above that, you get into the tax bracket that pays tax, and then you can participate in decision making. It's rights. You have a right, but that right comes with a responsibility.
It does.
And the responsibility is to contribute to the greater good of the country.
Yes.
So that you say that if you want to vote, and that is make a decision on who is going to represent you in parliament, in the legislature, either at county level or national level, you want to decide who is going to be the one who holds the purse strings and who dishes out projects and decides this is how we're going to operate, then you need to contribute.
True.
This is a members' club.
Yes, and I'm saying that the members' club, the entry requirement to the membership is actually your
membership
age.
Fee.
No, it starts with your age. Because you cannot be a registered voter until you have reached
18.
the mandatory 18,
Yes.
all right? And then we live in a country that we like to refer to as a democracy.
Yes.
One of the fundamentals of democracy is the process that is required for leaders to be elected in the political realm. Now, if you remove that right and peg it only to those who are paying taxes, what you will have done, you will have actually cancelled that entire charter of human rights in the country. And you will have said that the only people who can actually vote in this country are people who have means. That's what you'll have said.
Yeah, but it's also still human rights.
No.
You see,
cannot.
who authored the human rights? The human right that excludes children from participating in this. The human right that says that somebody who is in jail cannot participate in this. The human right that says that somebody who is mentally incapacitated cannot participate in this. The human right that says that if you have ever been jailed for more than 6 months, you cannot be elected as a leader. The human right that says all those things are part of human rights. Now we are just refining and fine-tuning the human rights and bring it to the reality.
Yes, but all those rights.
With all these,
Yes.
the human rights of everybody are guaranteed. That you shall eat, you shall sleep, you shall get access to projects, you shall never be discriminated against in terms of benefiting from the projects. However, when it comes to decision making, you shall be excluded. Just for that one.
Let me ask you this simple
Just stay
question.
outside there.
Yes.
Let these people go and decide. When they come out and they've made their decision, the people that are given the power to decide will cater for everybody. That is where now the rider is.
Okay.
You are elected, you shall work for everybody. But the person who elects you is somebody who has paid membership fee.
Okay. So do I need to be a carpenter to be able to give a good opinion on whether the furniture is good or not?
Do you need to be a carpenter?
Yes, to have an opinion on whether a piece of furniture is actually good or not.
It depends. It depends on what kind of opinion you're giving.
Any. Just take your pick. I'm making it as universal as possible.
Whether you can say that this seat looks beautiful,
Yes.
you can do that.
Yes.
But whether you can say that this seat, this building can actually hold 7 floors, you need to be a structural engineer to say that.
Yes. The thing is, there's what you call an expert opinion. An expert opinion is what you're referring to. I am simply talking about lay terms. I may not even know the difference between mahogany and mvule. So even if you tell me that this is cedar as opposed to being something else, I probably wouldn't know. But if I like the shape, if I like the way that particular piece of furniture is presented, I'll be able to choose it. But I'm not an expert on wood. I'm not an expert on making furniture. In fact, my knowledge of furniture has to do with my interactions with usually something I sit on, something I've slept on, something I've utilized in the home. That is my interaction with furniture. In the same way, when you have a democracy and you're talking about people participating in a democratic process, there are people who, yes, may not have the means to pay taxes, but doesn't mean that they will not have the means in the future. And if they don't participate in the democratic process, how will they understand how the democratic process actually applies to them if they cannot be part of that simple process of just simply voting? How?
They have not been locked out, by the way.
Uh-huh.
All they've been told is there's a threshold. The same way we said...
But that's locking out, Eric.
No, the same way we said that a child shall not vote. Even if you're 17 and 11 months old, you will not vote.
That's locking out.
We are saying the same way you will not participate in this because you're not paying tax.
No.
Because at the same time, as we talk about all these things, there's also the other side of the law and the responsibilities. What are the responsibilities of a citizen? One of them, tax paying.
Yes.
You have a duty and a responsibility as a Kenyan to pay tax.
Yes.
That's why the National Treasury and the KRA do not come and say, okay, please tunaomba tafadhali city, do you feel like paying tax? They tell you, no. You have a responsibility and a duty to pay tax.
Eric, but that's why it's called pay as you earn. Now, if you're not earning, how do you pay?
Yes. If you're not earning and you're not paying, it's fine. We are not going to throw you out of Kenya. We are still going to provide you the services, but we are going to withdraw something from you. And this is the right.
A key democratic process that determines, because that process is not just voting, that is the process by which we determine how we are governed.
Yes.
That is the process by which we determine how the rules and regulations by which we ought to govern ourselves are actually made.
Yes.
By electing these individuals.
Yes.
And you're saying that by removing these individuals from this very needful process, we are not abrogating their human rights.
No.
My friend, we are not.
Are they abrogating their responsibility to pay tax?
But you see, Eric, the responsibility of paying direct tax has to be tied with you earning.
Yes.
But if you're not earning, you should be exempt from that law because you cannot contribute even if you want to.
If you're not earning, and it's clearly demonstrated you're not earning, we put you in a certain category.
Of?
We shall provide for you.
Of half a vote.
We shall elect and you shall receive the services. Okay? You will receive the services. You are not being discriminated against in terms of receiving services. You will receive services equally as the person who is earning and who has contributed in voting. However, do not participate in the decision making. Don't come to the high table if you're not bringing anything to the table. That's basically the principle.
The system that you're proposing has actually been in existence before. It isn't. Why? You've heard of the Boston Tea Party, huh? It wasn't really a tea party, but people threw overboard goods at the port in Boston because they felt that the rules were not going to be made for them in England to govern them when they were in America. And yet they themselves have been paying taxes, and yet they don't have people representing them, and yet they're paying taxes.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
It was one of the things that lit this fire that eventually led to the War of Independence and the independence of America as we know it. Okay? The quotation that you read talks about the French Revolution. Now, the truth of the matter is this, huh? You're talking about situations where those countries were ruled not by democracies. No. This was imperial. You had a king, you had an emperor. It was a decree. They determined. The issue of elections participation.
Nothing.
Of the monarchy. It didn't even exist. But yet there are people who made decisions, and the people who made decisions were the land owners, lords. And many of them are people who had actually inherited this land from their forefathers. Now, how did these people move from this position where their representation was by somebody whom they didn't even elect and somebody whom they didn't even give their okay, to the point where it was understood that it is important for them to actually determine who it is who's going to represent them? It was this process of understanding this basic, very, very basic understanding of human rights the right of the individual. And the individual here, it is divorced from your color, your creed, your religion, your capacity to earn. The only thing that comes into it when it comes to perhaps voting is that you are of a certain age that is determined by your country to determine an adult status. That's it. But even within that, remember there are countries who keep having this discussion and lowering that particular age bracket.
Yes.
So, when you talk about rights, you want to be as inclusive as possible. And what you're suggesting will not only be inclusive, it'll be so exclusive that we might as well go back to the system where you have a monarchy.
It'll not be a monarchy.
Of course it will be.
Because
Only
ordinary citizens like you and I, who have no root at all to any dynasty, are participating in electing a leader. Why? Because we contributed to the kitty. We all have a responsibility to contribute to the kitty. Now, if you get to a point where, for one reason or the other, you are unable to contribute to that kitty, then for that time, you're excused from participating in the vote until you get back into the bracket of a taxpayer. That's basically it. We open up this conversation now to you to join. 0719-012-600 or SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. Should those who don't pay taxes be allowed to vote? Sounds like a very facetious argument, but look at it this way. 19.6 million voters and only about 5.5 million who've submitted their tax returns. Let's say about 3 million people who actually actively contribute to direct taxes. Should those people be the only ones who participate in electing their leaders, and then those leaders provide services to everybody else? That's a question we're asking. 0719-012-600 or SpiceFM KE. We are live on SpiceFM KE. We are online, SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, on SpiceFM and on KTN Home. 26 after 8. Time for a break. We'll be back shortly and pick your calls. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. 24/7, around the world, non-stop. This is SpiceFM.
Hello.
Halo, umesikia?
Nimesikia nini?
Hujasikia habari? Hebu acha nikuambie. Kile kimetokea.
Hello? Hello? Hello?
Don't wait for hearsay. Dial *550*1# to read the standard e-paper from the convenience of your mobile phone for only 20 shillings from your telecom line, and stay up to date for a reliable source with over 100 years of experience with no additional data charges.
There are so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafandi umbo yako iko na pembe.
Nini umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
All right, it's warming up in Nairobi. It's now risen to 15 degrees. It's going to be a mostly cloudy day and highs of 23. Mombasa is 24, light rains with highs of 29. Malindi, light rains at 26 and highs of 28. Kakamega, sunny day at 22, highs of 27. Kisumu, sunny day currently at 22, highs of 29. Eldoret, mostly cloudy day at 15 degrees presently, but highs of 22. Nakuru, highs of 24, mostly sunny day. Nyeri is also going to have light rains and highs of 20. In Kinshasa, Sunny day, highs of 31. Kampala, cloudy day, highs of 26. Lagos, Nigeria, light rains throughout the day at 29 degrees. Johannesburg, sunny day at 16 degrees. It's currently 1 degree in Johannesburg. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, partly sunny day at 30 degrees. And Beijing, China, light rains at 29. Paris, sunny day at 29. London, sunny day at 29. And New York, mostly cloudy day at 28.
Spice up your life.
It's still looking bad at Mlolongo coming towards town, and then as you get to the interchange at Airport North Road, that's at City Cabanas, it starts piling up again along towards General Motors. Coming to General Motors is busy, and then it clears up going all the way into Nyeri Stadium roundabout, where it starts picking up again into the other roundabouts, Bunyala Road roundabout, Haile Selassie roundabout, Kenyatta Avenue roundabout. This is University Way roundabout as well. Museum Hill coming towards University Way, heavy traffic, but don't worry, police are there and they're gonna help you move. Thika Road coming in towards town, it has cleared from Utalii. It's now looking much better, but also still looking bad at the junction with Kiambu Road into Pangani. Jogoo Road, how is it looking now? It's still clearing up, but from City Stadium roundabout going all the way towards Landis Road, very busy this morning. Also, Langata Road coming all the way to Mbagathi Way, very busy. Remember, there's construction happening at Mbagathi Way, so that is causing that tailback. Anything that you think we ought to know about and alert anybody else, SpiceFM KE on Twitter or 40127 on SMS. Good morning.
Spice and everything nice, everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
This is a Situation Room on SpiceFM on KTN Home and online. We reflect the big conversations in the country and around the world. So, for instance, this one that started over the weekend, we have 19.6 million voters as of the last published register by the IEBC, the 2017 general election. We have 5.5 or thereabouts million tax returns that were filed to the KRA by the 30th of June this year. Many of those, as we know, file nil returns. So, if we say half of those that filed tax returns by end of June, 5.5 million were nil returns. So we come to about 2.75 million people who have said, yes, I contributed to payment of direct tax. And here we are talking about direct tax, income tax, excise tax, capital gains tax, and such. That means we have 14.1 million voters, or thereabouts, about 16 million voters, who are talking about electing somebody who will go and decides how the money is shared, how projects are distributed, how oversight is done by members of parliament, but they're not contributing to this. Is this right? Is this wrong? Should those who do not pay taxes vote? And we're talking about those who do not pay direct taxes. Yes, there are those that pay, all of us paying direct tax in terms of VAT and others. Let's go to the phone line, 0719-012-600. We'd like to hear from you. George in Mombasa, good morning.
Morning to you, Eric and CT.
Good morning, George.
How are you doing?
Very
Fine,
well.
thanks.
Yeah, the government has enough machinery to ensure that everybody pays taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we cannot compromise on that. But delinking them from the right to vote is another matter altogether.
Why?
The government simply needs to step up its efforts in ensuring that everybody who is eligible to pay tax does so.
How about everybody who wants to participate in voting just pays tax?
That is as it should be. Everybody should
Why
pay
should the government reach out to you if you know that you can pay tax and you're able to pay tax? Why not just pay tax?
But you know how human beings behave. I mean, human nature is inclined to mischief. And that's something you understand, isn't it?
Yes.
There are those who would not do the right thing unless put in a corner. And the government has enough machinery to make sure that everybody who is trying to be evasive in one way or
We lost George, but we get your point, George. Pigeon in Utawala, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you today, Pigeon?
I'm fine. How is Muga?
Muga is fine.
Yeah, now, this is interesting.
Mm.
Can you tell me the percentage of young people who are unemployed? That can be around 40 to 50%.
If you say so, okay.
Now, it means these people will not vote. Now, the question is the role of the government to empower its citizens to get jobs that can enable them earn decent living so that they can pay tax? It's the same government that promised million jobs to citizens so that these citizens can be able to join the tax bracket. Now, if the government fails to do that, now they want to exclude those people who they have not empowered to pay tax, not to vote.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the first question. Now, let's move to the second thing here. Now, it will start with not voting. The second thing will be you will not access health services. The third thing will be you will not access education, you see. And the question is, for the last 60 years, the government has not empowered more people to be able to pay tax. In fact, if they are going to view it in that direction, then we will say that all of us who are not able to pay tax, not by choice, but because you are not able to join the tax bracket in terms of our earning, will form our government. Now, those who can pay their tax, let them pay their tax.
The argument here is that because you don't feel like you're tied to this, you go ahead and make a decision that's not necessarily based on good judgment. I was about to say logic.
But you see, I'm not tied to this, not by choice. It's like you're trying to say that I'm poor by choice.
No.
That I've chosen to be poor or I've chosen to earn less, and therefore I'm not part of the government. In fact, it's my aspiration to pay and get more from the government so that I can be able even to improve my living standard. But you're trying to say that I'm poor by choice. So because I'm poor by choice, then I should not participate in any running of the affairs of this country, surely.
So everybody who is capable should vote.
Yeah, it's simple like that. You know, by being age 18, it's not by choice. It's natural. You cannot force a 14 years old to be 18. That's why the Constitution says once you meet the age of voter or of being registered as a citizen of this country, you have to vote. Because the government has no power to make a 14 years old be 18. Yeah. That's natural. But now, to be poor or not to be poor, it's not natural. It's situational and depends on the leadership of this country that can elevate the living standards of people so that you can join the bracket. So it means that the government has failed to honor their first responsibility. Now they want to punish you for them failing to honor their responsibility to lift your life and make you join the tax bracket.
All right. Thank you very much, Pigeon. Let's hear from other callers as well. John in Elbagan, good morning.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
Yes, I hope you had a nice weekend.
Yes, we did.
Okay, now two things. For my friend Mo, the other time there was a discussion there about MPs having to have a degree, and he really supported it. And at that time, I never heard him talk about human rights. Because
John, did I really support the view, or did I simply give opinions as to why it made sense? You know,
that is supporting. You are supporting the
that
view.
Is supporting. And that's human rights. So
you are aware that you are now interfering with my human rights as well.
So if there are human rights when
to change his mind.
No,
yes, even now,
to give a perspective without it being called something that it wasn't in the first place. But please go on, John. You were saying something.
So if you talk about human rights, then even here you should talk about human rights. But now, to my point, and for you now, Latif, because now you're supporting this.
Yeah.
I think if you talk about tax and you talk about direct tax, that is a very small percentage of the government income, the direct tax. The other taxes form a bigger percentage than the direct tax. And those other taxes are paid by everybody. You don't have to be employed to pay that tax. So you cannot you cannot tie it to only direct taxes and to the payees and to the gain taxes of this in the tax system. So if you do that, I think it's a very narrow way of looking at tax. Tax is more than that. It's more than direct tax. It's more than payee. It's more than everybody pays tax. Everybody. You don't have to be employed. A boda does not have an income. I mean, does not pay direct tax like pay, but they still pay tax. A matatu conductor does not pay direct tax as such, but they still pay tax.
Yeah, then they should also be paying payee. That's the point. They have an income.
But pay is not the only tax.
It's
Pay is
okay.
not the only tax.
All of us are paying that universal indirect tax.
Yes.
But there are many, like you've just mentioned, who have an income and they are not paying.
That's true. And in fact, I'm one of the people who believe that the government has not done so much to be able to collect tax. Like, I know of somebody who sells fruits just near where I stay, and this person, his income is more than 24,000 shillings. So actually, he should be paying payee, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But now it is for the government. You cannot punish people for the failure of the government to enforce.
Okay.
Because taxes, if you leave taxes to the people and you say that it is their obligation to do it, nobody will do it. It has to be enforced.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Charles in Nakuru, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well, Charles. Hello, Charles. I think we've lost Charles. Yegon.
Yes, good morning, Eric.
Good morning.
And City.
Good morning, sir. How are you today?
I'm good, my brother. Now, a caller from El Paco has just said what I wanted to say. That the majority of people who are contributing to the tax in this country are those who are not paying it directly. Because everything in Kenya right now is taxified. From all the way, even from paraffin, anything, bread, airtime, credit. So these people are generating income. So infringing the rights of them that they should not be voting is very wrong. Because the way City told you that, do I have a right to say, is this chair good or bad? Whichever the makeup is it. So the same way the other person has a right to vote, because by sending this representative to the parliament, if them they could not they could have been paid not to vote. Still the same those who are eligible to vote, for example now those who are paying payee, could have sent the same person to the parliament.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Yegon. Amani, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, CT.
Good morning.
My take is this. It is very unreasonable to make such a restriction for people who are adults and have every reason to vote for their representatives. And in fact, when you look at the Constitution on the political rights, people have political rights, in case people didn't know that. Yeah, you will see that the Article 38, sub-Article 2 and 3, does provide for adult citizen rights to vote, to be registered as voters, and to elect people by secret ballot by an election or referendum. And it says without unreasonable restrictions. So when we're talking about because you're not paying direct tax, that is a very unreasonable restriction. Simply because tax is bigger than direct taxation. And all over the world, indirect taxation contributes much more than direct tax to government taxes, which pays for your representative, your political representative, his salary. So how dare he, or how dare anybody else who's a public servant imagine that you cannot vote because you're not paying direct taxes? Then can they give you back their salary?
You know, it's all because you're not contributing equally. Really.
First of all, the Constitution also outlaws discrimination, and that is really very bad discrimination, because you don't cease to be a human being because our contributions are unequal. Already taxation is unequal anyway. Yes, by the very fact, based on your income. People have different income levels.
Yep.
So it's already factored in inequality of taxation. And that is definitely a very unreasonable restriction or argument. Therefore, we insist that every adult Kenyan at the age of 18 and above has the right, the human right, the inalienable right to vote for their representative.
You know, I'm of a similar view, Amani, but tax isn't unequal if you think about it, huh?
Well, it's unequal in that it's not the same.
Equitable.
We're not all paying $1,000, yes, but it's equitable.
You see, the contribution that we're talking about, the way we formulate our taxes actually balances it out. Meaning, if you have less, there's a less that won't even be taxed in this country, okay? Then we have slightly more than that less, they tax you a little more. If you have a great deal more, then they tax you a great deal more. So the contribution...
It's equitable.
Yes, it's equitable. So in a sense, you see, for me that wasn't even the premise of my argument. I just thought I would mention it. I was of the same view as you, that the moment you bring in this facetious discussion that Eric brought in, you immediately bring in the discussion of basic human rights.
That's when it becomes basic, but when you're not paying, it's not basic. David in Mlolongo, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Morning to you.
Good morning. What I wanted to contribute, what you are saying is right.
Yes.
No, wait. What who is saying is right?
What Eric is saying about people should pay tax, but when it comes to vote, but when it comes to the issue, the government should create like a minimum wealth for the people. Like we have people in Kenya who just own natural resources like land. There are people who have large plantation just because they have them. Like you just found them. Now that is unfair, right? If we say that people with no property should not vote, who can pay tax, and you are born and you just had access to this, it would be very unfair. So for that rule to apply, we should redistribute the resources, or we should make some people to have like a minimum. Yeah? You should not be like in Nairobi. You don't have a place at Shago or something. You don't have a fallback. You see, you are hands to mouth. Yeah, that thing should be looked at very well.
Okay. Thank you, David. Juma in Mombasa, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. In as much as I'm agreeing with you that people should be paying taxes, which is fair, people should be paying taxes, but you need to be fair because the amount of income people earn in this country varies. There's this group we are saying about 14 million people who are not paying taxes. Why haven't you done a research? Find out what these 14 million people are doing. You will realize almost 60% or 70% of these people have no income, have no regular income. So locking them out from making decisions about how this country is governed amount to discriminating them. The other caller told you that some of us are not where we are by choice. Most Kenyans are willing to pay taxes. But the government hasn't created an atmosphere that can enable people to earn a living and pay taxes.
Okay.
For example, I'm a matatu driver. Hello, Eric, can you hear me?
We
can hear you clearly.
I am a matatu driver here in Mombasa. You have realized the current measures of carrying 8 people and the cost in buying fuel. If you City knows this business so much, if you are a matatu owner, you realize the hardship these people are facing, reaching the targets of the owner and earning something. I can tell you at times we go home empty-handed.
That's true.
And times we go home empty-handed. We have family and we have work. The money we got has been spent in fuel, and the rest has been given to the owner. Because you can't tell the owner, I'm not going to give you your money because we didn't make enough money today. You have to give him the amount of money he's expecting to give it.
Do you earn an income, Juma?
I'm not earning a regular income, so I don't know how you can tax it. Sometimes I go home with 300, 400, 500.
Cumulatively at
Sometimes
the
I
end
go
of the
without
month.
anything for so many days.
Cumulatively at the end of the month, on average, do you take home 22,000 and above or 22,000 and below?
It's less than 20,000.
All right. So that's an income.
It's less than 20,000.
Well, that's an income, and you're already exempted from paying income tax.
Yeah.
Okay? That's an income. So,
Okay.
in 2022, just take a break. Stay at home. Don't vote. And let others vote. That's the argument I'm
I should
making.
not vote.
Yeah. It's okay. You don't pay that tax, but don't vote.
Yeah. So is that a proposal?
Yes.
Okay. And as much as I respect your right to propose that, but it amounts to discrimination. It is discrimination.
It is actually, it doesn't amount to, it is blatant discrimination.
Right and obvious. Hussein in Marsabit, good morning.
Hello, good morning, sir.
How are you?
Fine, thank you. Greeting you and thanking Mr. Charles.
And how are you, sir?
Yeah, Tinge.
Hussein, we've lost you. Let's go back to Nakuru. Charles, we had lost you earlier. Now you're back. Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I would like to go straight to the point.
Yes.
It's everybody's constitutional right to vote, and I would insist that nothing should change based on what I give back to the government in terms of tax. I would like to mention that a happy nation is a healthy nation. We are in a nation that very few people are happy, and if you want to tell them to pay tax, how? Yet they are not getting their basic needs. Every other day something new comes in regard to exploiting the people who don't have anything. So you can imagine, under being a person of medical background, I look at the impact of COVID-19, and you'd see that there are lots of jobs. On top of that, there are some kind of exploitation. The other day they increased the prices of LPG. Which on the other hand was meant to help the people. We were being told we are depleting the forests, so we need to be encouraged to use LPG. And then the other day they increased. I can imagine I, who has a job, having to pay 600 shillings extra because my salary is fairly okay. But I can imagine those people who are already working, who don't get even 10,000, who are the majority, what they go through. And then we have to note that in our country today, we are talking of politics of exploitation. What are they telling us that makes me feel like I have to contribute to the basket of development in this country? Every other day, it's politicking from one election year to the other.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we are all engaging in some kind of dance that we cannot really explain. And finally, I would like to highlight the fact that you have been asking some question in regard to why people driving taxis or border pay tax, maybe house girls. They can. Many of them have no idea what you're talking about. There's no enough engagement and capacity building in terms of letting people know it's a right to file tax returns, whether you pay tax or not. They have no idea. So when we have the 5.5, those are the one. Most of them you can imagine. They are those working in offices, and it's a mass procedure that goes on. So by the end of the day, I would conclude by saying the ignorance of the people and the arrogance of the leaders and intimidation. People nowadays live more in fear of one thing or another. It could be COVID, it could be insecurity, it could be anything. This is the life Kenyans are facing, and it's the subject that we should be talking. But this tax issue, I think, is secondary. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Charles. Well, the conversation will continue, of course, in terms of, so what are the merits or what are the demerits? Does every citizen have a responsibility if you're an adult? Do you have a right to participate in an election? Yes. Have all citizens who have a right to participate in an election registered as voters? No. Are they forced to? No. It's voluntary. Is it an obligation and expectation that every citizen contributes to the kitty? Yes, it is. Do you need to be forced? No. So let those who are contributing to the kitty contribute to the decision-making of leadership.
You know, the thing that my position hasn't changed, but the thing that has come out is there are many people who are very eager to claim this right that they have. But I don't think they fully grasp the weight of this particular right that they have, even when they put it into practice. Because you apply it and then you don't continue with the next level of application, as in holding those who you've elected accountable. Yes.
What responsibilities come with voting?
Yes. Voting in someone, just leaving it at that, you might as well not vote.
And what decision, what influences your decision on the ballot?
Yes.
It's 5 minutes to 9. The conversations continue on SpiceFM, but we want to say goodbye to our audience on KTN Home. You've been with us since the top of the hour. If you'd like to join this conversation, please do so. Tune in to SpiceFM. Nairobi 94.4, Mombasa 87.9, 102.5 in Kisumu, Nakuru is 96.0, 96.7 in Eldoret, 90.9 in Nyeri, Malindi is 97.7. We are also live streaming the show on social media. So if you don't have a radio near you, you can go to Facebook, type SpiceFM KE, you'll find us. The show is live. Or Twitter, SpiceFM KE, or YouTube as well, SpiceFM KE. 4 minutes to 9. Good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, just the way you like it. Be on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
The Spice Drive with Monique, the official soundtrack of getting you where you need to be. This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day.
Because Enoch
Spice up your
holding. Enoch, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. How are you?
Very well, thanks.
Munga, good morning.
Si jambo kaka, how are you today?
Very well. Now, to pay taxes, you have to follow the principles of taxation. And one, you have to have infrastructure for that tax to be paid. I should not move from where I stay to go to town and pay taxes. The government should have infrastructure where I can pay taxes where I am.
You can pay on M-Pesa.
Because, well. How many people know that they can pay taxes through M-Pesa?
Those who are willing to pay tax, no.
No.
Those who are not willing.
It should not be no. Eric, you should not let it just for me to find out. Make me know.
Once we bar you from voting, you will know.
And Eric, that discussion of barring people or bringing in some discrimination measures against the citizen is very dangerous. In fact, it's more dangerous than the Azalas as a dynasty, if you don't know. In fact, I would rather tell you, stop. When you start discriminating people in this country, whatever is going to happen is more worse than the other discussions surrounding that.
Let me take this discussion and perhaps a little different direction and ask the question, do you think that those who vote, as we currently do, exercise the full extent of the rights that they have? Because, yes, you vote in someone, but do you know the responsibility of the vote you have cast? And by this, I mean, do you hold the person you voted in accountable?
There is the duty and an obligation which are tied to this voting. In fact, paying taxes and
voting
and voting, they are not related anywhere. These are two different human rights, or fundamental rights.
They're both duties and obligations.
Yeah, they are duties and obligations, and you cannot tie them together.
Why?
They can't work. Why?
Why can't I tie them together?
Because
if you have a duty and obligation to pay tax and you're not paying tax.
In our society, there are people who are weak who will not be able to meet those thresholds. And you are not going to bar them you are not going to deny them their right.
Okay, I know. We hear you. Keep it right here. The conversations continue in the next hour. Very many comments on social media. We'll also be sampling some of them as well. A discriminative question based on what has been happening over the weekend is what Mumo Philip is saying. And others are saying, no way, come on. Everybody in this country pays taxes. What are you talking about? I don't need to vote after all. That's what Kunguni Kisumu is saying. Keep it right here. Good morning. It's now 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Self-confessed serial killer Juma Wanjala is expected to appear in court today. Meanwhile, families of the victims are crying for justice for their children they say didn't deserve to die. Here are the parents.
Aliwa kifo uchungu sana. Kifo yenye moyo hata watu walistuka. Alikatokatwa na kaficho mwezi moja. Tulihangaika mwezi moja tukimtafuta tukumpata. Mara ya mwisho tumeenda kwa DCI kujaribu tupate haki lakini inakuwa ngumu.
Nikajaribu kutafuta mtoto wangu sikumpata hiyo siku. Hadi siku ya kufuata ndio nikaweza kumpata tarehe 16. Mtoto wangu kumbe ameuawa.
Mtoto mwerevu, mtoto hata sijui ndasema lini. Nampenda mtoto wangu. Hata leo nimestuka sana kusikia maneno imefanyika. Hata sasa inawaza sijui ndasema nini.
Police Constable Caroline Chemutai Kangogo, who was found dead, will be buried on Saturday as per the Christian traditions, despite allegations that the late cop left a suicide note demanding that she be cremated. Meanwhile, her father, retired officer Barnabas Kibor, said allegations that Chemutai killed 2 men is a matter that can only be cleared by the police once they complete the investigations. UDA's victory in the Kiambaa by-election has no major significance in the country's politics, especially in next year's general elections. This is according to Majority Leader in the Senate, Samuel Pogisha, who states that UDA is one of the Jubilee affiliates.
UDA kama wanajipiga kifua wamejidanganya wakifikiria kwamba ni kwa sababu hawa ni UDA. No, ni kwa sababu hata mtu ndio anapigiwa hiyo kura, hata si UDA. Watu walikuwa wanapigia yule mjamaa kura, na yule mjamaa ni Jubilee, na yule mjamaa alitafuta tu kwa sababu hakupata ile akatafuta hiyo nyingine. Hiyo ndio inafanyika katika uchaguzi Kenya. Ukinyimwa tiketi hapa unaruka unaenda hapa.
This as the Jubilee Party is expected to hold a meeting this Wednesday to discuss the defeated Kiambaa, with some leaders already up in arms demanding that Jubilee Secretary General Raphael Tuju and Deputy Chairperson David Murathe resign, demands Tuju has rubbished.
If the right channels should just be followed, and as an employee of the party, I would comply with whatever my employers decide, but there's no way by which I'm going to panic because of a loss in a by-election.
Kupet Chairperson Mboko Milemba now wants the government to immediately send fee allocations to schools as students ready themselves to go back to schools. He is further asking the government to ensure that reduction of fees as experienced in national schools should be replicated downwards, further urging parents to play their part.
The ministry becomes a surrogate parent, and as parents strive to raise the extra above the tuition fee that is sent by government, which is about 22,000 per student, let the ministry send that money to schools immediately. It's very important to tell the parents that let them also work hard to send their bit of the bargain, which is the remnant either for boarding to school. So let them pay fees. We saw the school fees reduced in the national schools, but this must be replicated at the extra county schools and county schools coming downwards.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Hey, Mlolongo. I'm telling you, Mlolongo all the way from Mlolongo itself, coming to City Cabanas. It's chaos. It's chaotic. And it's both ways. You understand, this is where the expressway begins. So where the expressway construction starts, coming all the way towards City Cabanas interchange, it's chaotic. But worry not, because after that, after City Cabanas, it's clear. Just a slight snarl up at GM, and then after that, it clears again, and it's going to be all the way good. And then Langata Road is still as bad, coming towards Mbagathi Way roundabout. That is also still looking very, very, very bad. Jogoo Road has cleared up, and up to City Stadium. From City Stadium to Landis Road, it starts piling up again. Thika Road is also clearing up. Now the issue is only in Pangani. But University Way, the roundabout into Museum Hill interchange, that is also very busy both sides, especially the side coming towards town. If there's any cause for these traffic snarl-ups, let us know, SpiceFM KE or SMS 40127. Good morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Very good morning to you. Getting into the fourth hour of the show, C.T. Muga and Eric Latin with you. Ndu Oko is away for this week. She's on leave. Today's proverb.
You overcame the rain, but what about the dew?
You overcame the rain. What about the dew? You sorted out the big issue. What about that small matter on your feet? Okay. That's a good one. Very many comments coming in onto this conversation on payment of tax and putting a direct linkage between that and participating in an election. So some of these comments, if I just want to share some of them. Hook says, people who don't pay taxes should not vote. Perfect example is the recent Kemba elections, where we saw some people who were completely drunk, inebriated youth accepting some small bribe, and then that determines how they make a decision on the ballot. Now, I am paying tax. This is what Hook is saying. I am paying tax through payee, and I'm also paying indirect taxes via VAT. Is that not discrimination? Or discrimination is only when those who are not paying payee and they are able to are not allowed to vote, and only that they are not declaring it. There are many who have an income, but they are not subjecting themselves to tax. Jesse Jorge, I hope it's Jorge. Jesse George, when you buy a product, let's say bread, there's VAT. Yes. We are not talking about the indirect taxes. Yes, everybody, including those who pay direct taxes, also paying direct taxes. But those who pay direct taxes are few. And those are the ones we're talking about. Does everybody have a responsibility to pay tax or not? Ankag says they squander our taxes in their luxurious life, so we don't even know why we vote. PL Mwendo says voting should only be allowed to those who pay taxes. We have too many idiots making political decisions in this country basing on emotion because they never pay taxes and they never feel the pain. Auma Opande and Derito, Jonathan, they're all saying everybody pays taxes, indirect taxes like VAT. Eric Mutwiri says paying tax and voting are two different animals. Voting is our constitutional right. Paying tax is just an obligation for those who are employed. A question, please. How many registered voters in our rural areas know this tax thing? To them, tax is just a dream. Edna says let them vote. Those of us who pay taxes painfully and don't see what it does will not be on the lines to vote. Counting herself as one. Says, I pay direct taxes. I am not seeing the value for it. I will not participate in that other thing you're calling the election. Vincent Omondi says, every individual should be allowed to vote. The decisions that elected leaders make will always have an impact on all Kenyans, whether you voted or not. Very many more comments. 0719-012-600. Josephine is in Nairobi and she wants to contribute as well. Good morning, Josephine.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. My contribution to the topic really is where we're not recognizing the failures in voter education.
Yeah.
If people have a problem with the quality of voters, then there has to be other ways of resolving that. Voter education and ensuring that the people who present themselves to vote know what it takes, what it means, why they should do it, and they're able to connect it back to their own personal lives. So when voter education has failed, we don't start discriminating people. We address that.
So,
and then secondly,
right, go ahead.
Secondly, when they talk about just about 5.5 million people are paying taxes, is that individuals or that includes companies?
Those are the individuals who've submitted their tax returns.
Oh, okay, all right. Now, the thing is, there was a time I talked to somebody from a particular region in this country, and he's a manager. He was very well educated, and he said, in certain regions, they don't even contribute to this kitty.
Why?
So they made it a regional issue. That in that place, some of these marginalized areas in the country, people don't contribute. So you see, that is a fallacy that is now, I'm surprised, it's becoming a national dialogue where some people think that their contribution is greater than in other places. If we were to go that route, then it means in certain regions nobody would vote. Because Nairobi...
That's actually what it means, yes.
Does it mean there are certain regions in this country where people don't have an income?
Yes.
Where people don't have an income, Josephine?
Where people don't have an income, yes.
Okay, like which one, for instance?
The marginalized areas, for example.
Like?
The people who... Well, I do not want to quote when I don't have the research. But what I mean, the spirit of my statement is this.
Yeah.
In Nairobi, you will find more taxpayers than, let's say, in Siaya, for instance.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you are
those who are voluntarily paying tax, not
Those
saying
who
that
are-
those who
those-
do not have an income that they can pay a tax for.
Those who do not have an income, in the rural areas, people don't have an income. They wake up in the morning, they go to till their farms, and it's for subsistence. That they don't even sell their produce in the market. We have to be alive to how people live. Yeah, and I'm sure in other areas, maybe the pastoralist areas, the situation is the same. You see, their cows even die because they can't sell them during drought. So they don't have what you would call an income that KRA will come and tax. So then what we are saying, they don't deserve to be represented because then they don't deserve to vote. Pretty absurd.
Yep.
It's unfortunate.
It starts a conversation, Josephine, because what we are saying is even those that do not have a substantial income have an income. Now, if we talk about telling and mandating KRA to widen the tax bracket so that you're not only talking about making an income from those who are paying pay as you earn above 24,000, but looking at other ways in which you can net the people who have an income. You sold your cow at the market. You got an income. So do you contribute to that? You run a shop. You pay tax. You're already a taxpayer. You're paying a county permit. You're paying a business permit. You're paying other things. That is an income. All right? And you're already paying a tax. Those many people in those very many parts of the country are already taxpayers.
Yes.
And there are very many who are such taxpayers, but they voluntarily do not pay tax.
Because they don't fall within the tax bracket.
Many of them do.
The direct tax bracket. They all pay VAT, of course. If you want to take your goods to the market, counties are very aggressive right now. You will pay some form of tax.
Yep.
Yeah. So this conversation, I think it should be something else.
What should
Not
it be, Josephine?
Voter education.
Mm-hmm.
It should be about what these taxes that people pay do to enable to impact people's lives.
Okay. So should we then be moving a conversation and saying that with constant voter education, there should be a threshold and say those who demonstrate that they have actually gotten the education should participate in voting?
I don't know why you want to make it a burden on the taxpayer to prove that he's been educated.
Because it's a burden to run the country.
But that's why so everybody should be walking around with a certificate saying I've been educated.
It's a burden to participate in an election. And this person has voluntarily taken their time to register as a voter. They have taken their time to go and queue and vote.
But then again, now to even add more, talk about it in a different way. One, even the people who are educated in this country make such bad decisions when it comes to voting. So it is not even only an issue of lack of education. Because we are swayed sometimes by our ethnic preferences.
Yep.
Yeah, so we have bigger problems. We need to really look at this thing more critically.
Thank you, Josephine.
All right.
Good day. Mwalimu Irongo Amos, good morning.
Good morning, Eric. Good morning, City.
Good morning, sir.
I only have two things to observe. One, it is interesting that in Kenya we always want to come up with new things regarding everything, elections and what have you. But my question is this: if today we said that only those who contribute directly to tax are the ones to vote, does it mean then that somebody who is riding a motorbike, of course, is not making direct tax, is not liable to be elected as an MCA or MP somewhere? Because one thing about being cleared to buy is that you must be a registered voter. And because this guy is not going to be a registered voter because he does not give direct tax.
He's a direct taxpayer. If he's using that for business, then he has already paid. He's paid a TLB license. That's the direct tax.
What about some other person who is selling in Tumba and all these other people? So it's very complicated because many people who are associating with this person may want to elect this person, but because he's not liable, then it means he's going to be locked out. Secondly, is the question that CT has really insisted on about, do we hold the people we elect to account? Well, that would be a conversation for another day, but my position is, if the government is appearing to have lost funds, maybe it has become broke and it does not want to have very many people participating in an election, they should come out and tell us, we will contribute. But locking out candidates on the basis of not being people who pay tax directly, locking out voters, I think that one will not be accepted. It's at all order. It is a good discussion, but I can tell you it's not going to be very easy.
Mwalimu, did you contribute to the conversation we had last week about the minimum education requirement for elected leaders?
I did.
What is your view on that?
I'm in support.
That an education is important?
Very much.
So it's okay to lock out people from being elected, but it's not okay to lock out people from electing?
Is it for somebody to become a voter, or somebody who is able to pay tax directly, does it necessarily mean this person is educated?
Nope.
This person does not necessarily have a degree.
It means that they contribute. It means that they're contributing.
Yes, but this one does not make them more, I don't know, it does not make them have the integrity to decide for all of us, those of us who are not contributing.
I'm just questioning the basis of calling one discrimination and not the other.
The discrimination here is on the basis of, are you locking me out because, or somebody has just completed Form 4, they have they are a university, they have they have an ID card, anatafuta kazi, atapewa. So are we really saying that this person cannot vote because he has a power kazi, although this person is qualified? We have so many guys around who are qualified, but they have not got a job because of the environment we are in. Jobs are scarce, Eric. So
Mwalimu, I support you on that one because I have been of the view, very simply, that it is a question of human rights. But why I keep bringing in the issue of holding the elected individuals accountable is because there's a caller before you who talked about bad decisions that are made in electing leaders. I actually don't even think it's the decision of it's a bad decision. I think people are elected fine, but because they know they'll not be held accountable, they do exactly what they like.
Then, City.
Yes.
The problem here again is, how are we sure that if we limit the number of people who are going to vote, this limited number is going to hold them accountable?
Oh, I actually think that Eric's perspective is completely misguided. I mean that is my view. But the truth of the matter is, if you want to broaden this discussion and look at it correctly, with regards to, for instance, the example he gave about qualifications for somebody who wants to be a member of parliament.
Yes.
I was of the view, yes, if you want to place the requirement as being a degree, I understand it, but you must give equivalence. Meaning you can say either a degree or a diploma with this or this with it, but it can't be just one thing. That was my view.
On that one, I'm in agreement with you.
Yes.
That maybe you could say you want to become MCA, show us your diploma. You want to become this, show us your degree. On that one, I'm quite in agreement with you.
Okay, Mwalimu. Thank you. Have a good day.
Have a good day.
Ed in Nanyuki.
Morning, guys. How are you doing?
Fine, thanks.
This is a very nice topic because I think, what actually pains Kenyans is not the fact that they pay tax. Because if a Kenyan went to the States and paid tax, and as a pig and duru. But the thing is, you pay taxes and you don't see it working for you. It's like having a phone and you're not making any calls with it. There's one thing I can assure you: whether people vote, whether you're a taxpayer and you vote, or you're not a taxpayer and you don't vote. The thing is, whether if it's bad leadership, it's going to go through. I think the problem with our country right now is, one, accountability. Because it's not a matter about that. It's about, okay, you trust a certain person, but that person, ends up being a failure. And people forget this. That most of the times what we have on the ballot paper is a politician, not a leader. And that is why you see just several counties or several constituencies have progress. The others have got funny and weird characters as MPs or leaders. For example, there's a post that you shared, Bona Eric, about a certain constituency in Nyeri. They don't have any other utilization of CDS. The only thing they can do is buy desks. You remember it, right?
Yep.
And honestly speaking, there are children in that constituency who need bursary. There are projects in that constituency that would be wanting enough. It is my neighboring constituency, I can tell you that.
Maybe those are the needs of that particular constituency at that point.
Let me tell you something, Bona Eric. If you go to that constituency, and I'm going to mention it because it was in public, if you go to Obaya, the needs are not those desks.
Yeah.
The needs are not those, honestly speaking. There are youth even now who need empowerment. Even now, I can tell you, for example, there's an MCA in Chinga Ward, and that guy, how he works, I wish MPs would work the way that guy works. Because that guy has divided his ward into those little sublocations and villages, and every village, every sublocation has its own day. He comes and he doesn't drive. That guy doesn't drive. That guy walks to that place. And if you are from village A, you don't have to come to village B if it is not your day. You wait until your day comes, you go address the problems. I can tell you, youth from that ward currently, they are empowered. There's no youth who can go to the MCA Singa and tell him mkubwa anataka unipe 200 ama zamacho, as they say. Why? Because there is empowerment. Those people, if you ask them, they can tell you that they can see that if they are paying taxes, they can see that their taxes work.
So that's an engaged voter.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's a voter who can actually hold his leader accountable.
Yeah, that's a lead. Yeah, exactly. But now that's the problem is, Bona City, the current leaders that we have, they come with a manifesto and promises. But once they get the door and they get into the high-rise vehicles, you don't see them until 2020 something.
All right, Ed.
That's a problem. Have a good one, guys.
You too. Thomas says, using voting as a tool to make more Kenyans tax compliant is not the solution. First, curb rampant grafting government. We'll always have, why can't you first do this and the other, right? Interesting that you're tying direct taxes to voting. Can you tell us how much direct taxes is paid by these dudes that we are voting for in the first place? Well, they pay tax. They pay as you earn. If my vote doesn't bring the desired difference, it's useless. That's Quibita who says this. Every person who's alive in this country is paying tax. Yeah. Okay. We're talking about the direct taxes. So here's the thing then. If many are feeling that this is an affront to democracy, an affront to people's basic, inalienable right to participate in a democratic process called an election, yet it's not all people who are exercising this particular right. We only have 19 million people who have registered as voters, and not all 19 million people turn up to vote. Okay? How many adults who qualify to be voters in this country are there? What percentage of those adults is this 19.6 million? So if there's a huge chunk of our population that doesn't feel the need to connect with this particular decision or right or obligation to participate in an election, and those that participated last time but then this time for one reason or the other they feel they don't turn out to vote, can't we just stand the same thing and say those that take their responsibility and obligation to pay tax seriously pay, then let them vote, or in the very least let their vote carry higher weight?
I see you.
When your vote is 1, then the vote of the one who's paying direct tax, be 1.5.
You know, if you actually take that argument to its logical conclusion, then you're going to say that those who are in the tax bracket of paying 30%, then those people, their vote should be weighted to 3. So instead of voting, when they vote, that particular vote is cast with a weight of 3 votes.
3.
And now that you'll have taken discrimination to its logical conclusion. In fact, you forget taking us back to the days of a monarchy, okay? You'll have taken us back to the days of a theocracy, where you have this one person whom God talks to directly, and then that person talks to you.
I like how discrimination is used when people are denied something to do, and yet when they refuse to do something, they don't consider that discrimination.
No, why should they? Why should they?
When people refuse to do something, for example, those that refuse, knowingly, willfully refuse to register as voters, why are we not talking about them being discriminated? They chose to.
Do you know, I fall into that category. There's a period of my life when I became an adult, had an ID, until probably the age of, I think, 25. I never voted.
You never bothered.
What for? Deliberately. And if you ask me, I said, I was exercising my constitutional right. The right is not just only to vote. I also have a right not to vote if I don't want to vote. And I kept being told that...
And then you make noise, and then that's the other conversation. You kept being told, of course, that when you don't vote, then you have no right to question. You have no moral rights.
Yes, I heard that argument as well, and I thought it made sense, but I also felt that right is a right. The fact that you have a right to vote or not to vote and you choose one, it doesn't make you better than the other, or it doesn't give you more rights on other issues. That was my argument. I have just exercised my right like the other individual who had actually voted. But with time I realized that voting goes beyond just the actual process of ballot casting. And the process of responsibility that goes with it goes beyond ballot casting. It goes to the point of actually being involved in everything that happens in your life, in the constituency, either that you come from or that you live in. Yes.
There's something that you raised earlier, and this is, so the 19.6 million people who are registered as voters,
yes,
the 17 million or thereabouts who actually participate in voting.
Yes.
What determines their choice? And number two, where does their responsibility start and end? Does it end in just going to vote and then sitting back
cast
and saying,
the ballot? Yes.
And then just sit back and saying, but we voted for
I
you.
voted.
But or does it continue thereafter? And do we have that being sustained? Let's come back with that conversation, right? It's now 9:30. Taking a break. Let's take a look at the weather and traffic. Remember, if you'd like to get highlights of this conversation that we have on a daily basis here in the Situation Room, you can do that by receiving them on your mobile device. Just SMS the letters TSR, that's the Situation Room, the letters TSR to 22840, that's 22840, and you will be receiving highlights of the Situation Room conversations every day. Elsewhere, you can get these ones are SpiceFM KE on YouTube, on Facebook, and on Twitter, in addition to Instagram. Good morning.
Spice FM.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten. It is based on ideals that cannot progress our country forward.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
All right, so Nairobi, it's going to rise to 23 degrees later today, and it's going to have we're going to have a mostly cloudy day. Currently, it's at 16. The temperature has been rising, but it's not rising fast enough. How's it looking like in Mombasa? 25 degrees, light rain is going to rise to 29. Malindi, light rain today at 28 degrees. Kisumu, mostly cloudy day at 29. Eldoret, mostly cloudy day at 22. Nakuru, cloudy day at 24. And Nyeri, light rains at 20. In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, partly sunny day at 30. Johannesburg, South Africa, sunny day at 16. Lagos, Nigeria, light rains at 29. Kinshasa, mostly cloudy day at 31. Beijing, light rains at 29. Paris, sunny day at 29. London, sunny day at 29. And New York, partly cloudy day at 28. We're out of the peak traffic hour, so things are looking much better in many parts of the city. But that place of ours called Mlolongo, coming all the way to airport, is still busy. Remember, there's a road construction. That's where the expressway starts, from that area near Syokimau Airport Road, coming towards the CBD, going to the SGR terminus. It's very busy both ways, but then it clears up from airport coming all the way to City Cabanas. Is not looking so bad at all, and then General Motors, it starts piling up, but it clears up immediately after General Motors, coming all the way to the roundabouts, Nyayo Stadium, Lusaka, Bunyala, and all the others. It's looking good. Jogoo Road is looking busy near Nile Road, and this is the Makadara area into Mbotela. It's busy, but then it also gets busy as well at the City Stadium roundabout, and Landis Road is also busy. Mombasa Road, we've just looked at that. And then Thika Road has cleared up those usual hotspots. Langata Road, coming towards Mbagathi Way, it's not good at all. And it's because of the construction that's going on of the interchange with Mbagathi Way into Langata Road. That is looking quite busy. Anything that you think we ought to talk about, SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Good morning.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM,
Right.
Nairobi.
So, City, the responsibility of the voter.
You know,
Now that we're saying that everybody has the right to participate in
Yes.
the election as a
Yes.
voter. Right?
Actually,
and it
if-
should not be impeded unreasonably. And you've said that using tax is an unreasonable impediment. Then
You
responsibility.
see, what the taxpayer, who in this case is represented by his capacity and willingness and ability and right to vote, his responsibility is demonstrated by what he or she does. Now, many voters in this country believe that the responsibility lies in talking about it, whether on social media or expressing a great deal of anger, a great deal of frustration. But beyond that, they then assign other duties to known civil society groups, individuals who might perhaps want the same position that they voted for the other person, the person who might be vying for that position. Everybody and anyone other than themselves. What do I mean by this? This idea of forming groups, forming caucuses is something we do well. But forming a caucus within the area that you live in to actually bring up an issue of concern to you with your elected leader is something that our people do not seem either willing to or able to do. And I'm beginning to ask the question, is it that they know that all these groupings that they have, whether it's an estate group or whichever grouping, that this same grouping is a grouping that can be actually used to bring about a concern, a direct concern. Somebody may say, oh, but getting an MP is difficult. Well, actually, it may be, but getting a chief is not difficult. Getting an MCA may be even less difficult than getting an MP. So long as you have an elected leader, unless you've exhausted every possible avenue that you have at your means to get to them, you cannot say that you have not tried to, well, let me say, put it differently. The excuse of you have tried everything when all you've done is talk about it once, that is insufficient reason to provide in any argument that you want to hold that you have been trying to hold your leader accountable. And you cannot use that by saying that, well, people don't actually know. If you are able to think of being part of a group in any way, you do not have an excuse.
Do you agree with Josephine that there is insufficient voter education?
On which aspect of voting?
On the responsibility of a voter. Because that's what she was talking about. She said, let's not look at quality of voters and try and correct that by saying, or impose a taxation issue and all. But let's look at quality of voter and conduct voter education. Quality of voter indicates that there is insufficient voter education.
You see, that argument seems to imply that there are voters who, by virtue of their economic position or the levels of their formal education, are ignorant. It's a false argument. It's a false argument because so long as somebody has the capacity to listen to the radio, they have the capacity to have conversations with other people regarding voting. And what do I mean? The fact that somebody can go and vote means there is some information that has reached them, and that is what has gotten them there. The fact that they can vote for a certain individual as opposed to another individual, it also means that they have information about the individual. And usually, the people they are voting for live in the area that they live in. They may not necessarily have met the person, but a conversation about who that person is will have taken place. And before the event of the actual election date, all these people who want to vie will have made the attempts to get themselves known to the voter and will have made some attempt to get the voter to understand what they stand for.
But is it possible that with all those conversations taking place,
Yes.
the voter does not actually understand what the job is?
You see, holding the...
So there's a lot of awareness, right? There's awareness, but it's not uniform. There are people who are participating in an election knowing full well the job that they are electing this person to, the expectations of this particular job position, and how to hold this person then accountable. There are others who are participating in it with a different view of those things I've said. And that's why maybe the issue of voter education comes in. That not everybody understands. When you're voting for an MCA, what is the role of the MCA? What is the job that you're giving this person? When you're voting for a woman rep, when you're voting for an MP, for governor, for president, what are you basically saying?
You know, there are very many NGOs and civil society types of groupings whose job it is to do precisely what we are saying. Get the voter to understand what their rights are within the constitution, etc., etc. But the real discussion that Josephine was talking about, in my view, is not this. I believe that the discussion is what it is that the Kenyan citizen believes, or how it is they believe they should treat a leader. Before that person is actually elected, they'll be treated in one way, or they'll be viewed as one thing. When they become elected, they're now treated differently and they're viewed differently. Our response, our reaction, and our relationship with authority, that is one thing. Our relationship with people in positions of authority. Our relationship, then, when you talk about holding someone accountable, our relationship with our requirement and our responsibility of holding people whom we believe are in authority accountable. Do we as Kenyans easily believe that even given an opportunity, we can actually hold a leader accountable by, for instance, telling them that this decision that you made, Mheshimiwa Mtukufu, is actually wrong?
Yeah.
Do we believe so? No. I think a lot of our behavior as the Kenyans are what you call passive-aggressive. And that's why I said we'll rant and rave on social media. We will call in and say our piece.
We will vote out the person.
Yes, when the time comes. But if you tell them, within the estate you live in an estate, you live somewhere, you have a gathering of people. Can that group find 2 or 3 people who can now be charged with the duty of going to see the MCA or seeing the MP or talking to the...
Or summoning.
Yes, or essentially, you are their boss. Or do you feel they should summon them? The answer would be, unajua mheshimiwa, you can't talk to the mheshimiwa in this way. The moment you begin, you can't talk to the mheshimiwa in that way. And this is somebody whom you've elected. This is your servant, actually. This is somebody who you are the one who you've given them a job. Now, it is that I was about to say mishmash, but I mean, it is that misplaced understanding of our relationship and who is actually the boss. That
so mishmash, you meant mismatch.
You know my linguistic inclination, and you know that you are now asking me to walk on a landmine. So I am going to just continue the discussion without getting that.
It's the same thing.
Mishmash
is mismatch.
I'm not going into that discussion with you. So until we understand that this is the handicap that we begin our responsibility quest with, then I highly doubt if we will actually move any way forward with the discussion. Because one, are we willing to face the reality that we are not willing to face our leaders head on?
No, we are very, very quick to try and protect what we believe is ours. All right. If you look at the conversation that we had for 1.5 hours, the pushback was, it is my right. Whether I take up the right or not, that's not your problem. It is my right. Do not take away that right to vote.
Yes.
Now, is it your right and obligation and therefore responsibility to continue by holding the person that you voted accountable? Now let the government make sure that everybody can pay tax. Let the government make sure that if there is voter education, let the government make sure.
As I told you, passive aggressive. So then, the conclusion to that discussion is that then you have a right to suffer.
Yes.
And you will suffer.
And that's what I was saying. Let those who feel direct pain and they can directly relate the pain, participate in decision making.
I still don't agree with you when you conclude that way. No.
Let them
we're doing
participate.
very well until you concluded that way. No.
Let them participate in decision making.
No.
You belong to a chama. All of you are in this chama. Somebody does not contribute as periodically as they should.
And yet they expect a loan.
And yet they expect a loan. When they have a problem, it's an emergency, they come and they expect that there should be money available to borrow in this chama. Or in your estate, you have people who pay service charge, which pays the security, which pays garbage, which does all those things. There's somebody who does not contribute regularly to the payment of this service charge. That you all contribute towards the kitty. All right? But they want to be very loud in saying who should not be chairman and who should be chairman of the estate. They want to be very loud in saying which security company should be hired. No, we cannot hire that security company. Surely those guys are not good. Yet you do not contribute the money that is used to pay that security company. No, this company of the garbage company, they are coming only twice a week. They should be coming 4 times. You don't contribute.
Eric,
it's a factor of how much you contribute.
Eric,
you have no right to just kaa pale kwa kona, tutakuongelesha baadaye.
Herein lies the conundrum. Most people who are that vocal, believe me, that is their contribution. They feel that they have said their piece. It is, for instance, when you go to your rural area and somebody refers to you as Mheshimiwa or Kiongozi. I've heard that term being used very often. When you have a grey beard like mine, you get to be called Kiongozi. You want to ask them Kiongozi of what exactly?
When Kiongozi.
Yes, but now, that acclamation is often followed by a request, because the person who calls you Mheshimiwa, calls you Kiongozi, calls you Mzee Mtukufu, whatever they call you, you, unbeknown to you, they are working. The moment they bequeathed you with that title and that position, they have done their job. Now you do your job and act your part, because somebody as distinguished as yourself.
Just a come away.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. When an acknowledgement has been vocalized, then the next stage of this particular process is for you to do something. And something is not nodding. Something is you putting your hand in your pocket and hoping that when the hand comes out of your pocket, it comes up with a form of currency that is acceptable or equal to the task. Now, you have a culture where people believe that by simply calling you a certain title or by greeting you in a certain way, they have actually done some work. Now, you tell me. So when you talk about voter education, voter responsibility, this voter is informed. They're actually fairly well informed.
The voter knows.
Oh, they know. They know exactly what they want to do.
So
yes.
Why is it that then you can look at a voter and directly question the decision that they make?
You question the decision that they make
because it doesn't agree with you.
Partly that, but also I question it because I think they're not fully cognizant of the long-term consequences.
The consequence.
Yes.
Why are they disconnected from the consequence?
Simply because the consequence happens to be in the future, and very many of our citizens live in the day, for the day.
Yeah, but then you have very many past experiences.
That's the point.
You have the experience. For example, getting into next year's general election, very many of our current MCAs, MPs, governors who are serving their first term will not be re-elected.
No, they won't be re-elected.
Right?
Yes.
That means that the voter is alive to the reality of the expectation versus the delivery by this person.
Can I just pause there? This person's supposed capacity, judged by what they said, has been seen and determined. This new entrant usually doesn't have the burden of office and is coming with a lot of energy and hopefully and presumably a lot of money. All right? So the person who wants to hold the position is also coming with the money, but because they've already held that position, you see, there are 3 things at play here. You've had your turn, your community has had their turn, let somebody else also have their turn. That is one consideration. There is we know what you can do. We've seen your limitations. Let's see what this other person can do. And actually, so and so, this person is actually giving us more money and promising us more than you were. Now, I'm talking about three things. The third one is this. At the end of the day, we will not see you once you get elected. So what we are going to do is milk this thing as much as we possibly can. Now, if you have been in, as I said, we know what you can do. So let us give the people a literal run for their money. Let the money run for them and let the money come in our direction. So it all boils down to money and the here and now. This future, the voter doesn't believe that any elected leader, unless they prove so by what they do, can actually do anything useful for you even when they get elected. That's my third point. They actually don't believe it. So, you're talking about voters having knowledge. Oh, the voter is educated, all right. The voter is educated by experience and they've understood, or they're thoroughly educated, that these people, this person, it doesn't matter who they are not going to do the things they're telling me. So,
then we should have something to measure with which to sift the voter. Because we've come up with ways of ensuring that what is considered the right candidate gets to the ballot paper.
Yes.
Right? There's a party nomination. There is, various qualifications. Have you been cleared by DCI? Have you been cleared by EACC? Do you have any case? Have you ever been jailed? Do you have, is your mental capacity? Are you bankrupt? All those things we have done.
University loan.
But then we are not checking the voter. Maybe we should come up with something that says, all right, as a voter, what is your understanding of this particular exercise? What is your understanding of your role and responsibility? If you pass a certain threshold, then you participate in voting. If you don't, then go back, repeat.
That is the correct perspective.
You will not go to standard 8. If you do not pass, get the pass mark in standard 7. It's
You have actually begun it correctly. You've begun it by asking, voter, here you are, here are these problems. What would you like to see so that we ensure that these problems do not occur? All right? Now, the voter will have an opinion, will have a view. They will even tell you what they hope to do. But there's a greater problem. There's a greater impediment to this process. Our love for the here and now and for the immediacy. You will say all these things, they will even understand, they'll even tell you what they think. But when the electioneering process begins and the immediacy brings forth its reality that is often accompanied by money or the promise of it or the promise of more of it, then somehow that entire system gets interfered with rather disastrously.
And we need to change that. That's what I'm saying. If we are not going to use tax as the sieve,
yes,
we need to come up with a sieve. The mere fact that you have turned 18 should not automatically qualify you to participate in the election the same way as somebody who has turned 18 but they are completely invested in the process.
Eric,
there are people who are invested in basically looking for an income the here and now. There's a candidate who's invested in looking for a job because they think this is a career, so this is a job. And then there's somebody else who is not invested at all.
You're asking the voter essentially to turn down any offers of money that is made to them. That's really what you're asking. Because in this election that has just taken place, specifically in Kiambaa, the game has been given away by none other than a Jubilee stalwart, a vice chairman, no less, by telling us, out in the open, we gave you money.
You did not deliver the
You did not deliver. What do you do with our money? Because if you distributed, now this is me, if you distributed the money as you ought to have, we wouldn't have lost. Now, you tell me. It is not as though, you know what he's also saying? The other people also gave money. It is clear their money did what it was supposed to do.
Yes.
That's why they won.
Their money delivered.
Yes. And they'll go down, they'll get granular. These 400 votes, where exactly did we lose?
Yes.
Okay, in our strongholds, how exactly did this person get one over? no one, for the first time, IBC is in the clear on this particular issue. Completely in the clear. They did what they're supposed to do. That's it. Now, this particular demon of money and how it is crucial and central to our voting process.
Yep.
Even if we followed what you're saying, Eric, and only those who pay taxes, you know what you'll have done? All you will have done is guaranteed that these individuals who will be fewer in number.
We've raised the asking price.
Completely.
That's
Completely.
Not everybody participates in an election after having gotten some money.
No. In fact, the majority of people, if you ask me, who actually vote, just vote.
Yeah. They just
Because
vote.
that money doesn't get to everyone. It gets to a small number of people.
Very
and
few
that is the
people.
truth.
Very few people.
Some don't even want it, are not even interested in it. But, if you're talking about the agents, the people who try to convince, where all this takes place is in where you have large populations of people.
Yeah.
Okay, that is where they try to divide this up. Now, until somebody can, because I don't have a solution for this, tell me a formula by which we can persuade our people not to take money offered to them. Because the day they stop taking money offered to them, then that conversation that we're talking about will take place. But before then, so long as money is a factor, I honestly don't see. Because people talk about the honesty, they talk about... I was talking to somebody the other day who told me something very interesting. Said one of the things that they saw in Kiambaa, because they went there, were youth stopping vehicles. They didn't burn, just hitting vehicles and asking to be set free. What I mean is they are asking to be given money. Money is central in our elections. And people believe it. This is not at the youth believe. No. People believe that money should be spent if they're to make the effort of even being involved in that process in whatever way. And even if they're not going to be involved, the fact that you have come to their area, it is their right to receive some money from you.
Receive something.
Yes.
Now, kitu kidogo.
They have to. So how are we going to change this conversation about money and people expecting to be given money?
By that, making sure that a voter understands their role and responsibility. All right?
Yes.
The few, you've just said it's a minority. That minority that goes out actively seeking and demanding money will be locked out. And the people who basically just genuinely get up, go to queue, and they vote because they have looked at those 2 candidates or 4 candidates or 7 candidates and they've decided, I want to vote for so-and-so. We assume that apart from those 2, the others did not get votes. They got votes. And they do not just get their votes from their wives and children and brothers and sisters and parents. They also got votes from people who believed in the message that they were presenting. And then there are those who will tell you, I voted for the UDA candidate because I believed that that's a candidate that was going to win. Not for any other reason. I just did not want to be left out. Now, that person should not participate in an election. You only came to vote. You voted for City. Why did you vote for City? Siku nataka kupoteza kura yangu. What? I was voting because I was going with the wave. It appeared clearly that this was the way the vote was going, and so I participated in that. I just voted for this person because. Should that person really be participating? No, that person should be locked out of election.
That person should not be locked out of election. They elect whoever they elect, and if the elected individual turns out to be the sort of leader that we often see, that individual's suffering will increase. Let him also understand the consequences of his...
Unfortunately, the consequences are also suffered by the other people who are actually going to vote for a person because they believe that this person can deliver.
Well, then, the only question is, how then do you hold your leaders accountable so that they actually keep the promises that they made?
All right. Now then, as we're coming to the conclusion of today's conversation, give us today's proverb.
You overcame the rain. What about the dew? And I said, it warns against pride. Taking things for granted ignoring things which you think are minuscule and unimportant, and yet they are important.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You said this is a Tanzanian proverb.
It is a Tanzanian proverb. But why I picked on it was I was looking at what has happened in Africa for the longest time. And it boils down to this. There are issues that warn you and tell you this is what's happening, but nobody seems to pay attention. You look at the South African situation, you are not paying attention to something that is right before your very eyes.
Right.
Until it now blows out. You know, there's a twist to it. Huh? People took goods, the police now want receipts.
Paying for the consequences.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning into the Situation Room today. Join us again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Tomorrow is a public holiday. It's Eid. But we'll be here anyway. Good morning. It's now 10 a.m.